Bam, just like that. Whew. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Are we having fun? Are we hanging out? Are we busy? It sounds like a few of you are. But anyway, checking in. Let me pop up a little chat box over here so I can actually see what y'all are saying. Hold on. Boom, there we go. Perfect. All right. Well, listening to you and editing will hopefully keep me sane. Well, no guarantees there. I can't promise that you're going to feel sane by the end of this thing, but, you know, do what we can. We'll try and adjusting some lights here. It's a lot going on. Anyway, got a fresh haircut, heading home to get a workout in. Nice. I need a haircut. My hair's starting to do that thing where it just pokes straight out the sides like a chia pet. I'm not about it. So, anyway, go ahead and get this thing started. Drown out the music a little bit. There, now it's just background noise. Went to a Ren fair today. Whoa, Ethan, going a little bit nerdy there. That's fun. Anybody else do anything more wild like that? Did you get a turkey leg? Like, I hear that's the thing you got to do when you go to those. But I've never been. I hang out, you know, back in school. I was like in the weird in-between stage between like the popular kids and the nerdy kids. Like I was in the social, you know, area where I could bounce between the two and it was totally fine. It was just like, oh, hey, nerdy guys, how's it going? Hey, popular kids, how's it going? You know, it was as easy as that. But the reality was everybody got along pretty well, so you didn't have to worry about it too much. Met somebody who was retired at 35 and a multimillionaire. Oh, wow. Interesting. Ethan, I'm not a fan of turkey in general. I'll just be honest. I find Thanksgiving, I like all the other food, but turkey, I could just take it or leave it. It's whatever to me. For me, I'm a ham guy. I like the ham. But, you know, your mileage may vary. Everybody else has their own opinions on what's best. Yeah. Well, let's see here. What else we got going on? That camera a little bit. Okay. That's enough on this one. Go ahead and mute that. Whew. All right. So, catching up with everybody. Nice to see, though. Glad we got a little crew going. This will be fun. I had some plans, basically, to hit on some detailing videos. Also, some just like Barn Find Hunter. I found those were pretty fun last time, so we'll go through some of those. And, yeah, we'll probably hang out for the next couple hours here. That's my plan. And then I'll probably go play games or something after that. Smoked turkey is good. Okay, but I feel like smoked in general just makes any meat better. Like, you know, smoked brisket, smoked ham, all that stuff is better smoked for sure. Yeah, but I feel you with the whole, you know, not a turkey leg fan. Yeah, I'm just whatever about turkey. You were a social floater in high school. I was too. Yeah, Toastigo, I could totally relate. And helped develop pandemic response software in 2020. Oh boy. Yeah, I bet that paid very well. Even smoked seafood is fantastic. True. Bucky, not to bring a downer on the night, but if anyone here is on IG, please reach out to Andy Sharp. I know he's a TRC fan and he's posted a couple. Oh boy. Okay, yeah. Message him to see if they're okay. Would just hate for anything to happen. Absolutely, yeah. No, reach out. Make sure if you have them in your friends list, say, hey, you know, just looking out. You know, you want to be respectful of people's own privacy and stuff, but at the same time, if you can just help someone feel seen, that goes a long way. So, you know, I think Alex has a good point there. Bucky VW for those of you who don't know. But yeah, no, make sure you follow up on that. So thank you for sharing that. Not to be a not to be a downer, of course, but just, you know, awareness goes a long way. Because if you don't know somebody's hurting, they're not usually going to come out and say it, but maybe there's little cries for help here and there. And if you can help somebody, that's the right thing to do. Okay. So what do I got here? I've got to this thing in. That signed out. Oh, we're doing a bunch of moving over stuff at work, so things get reorganized. That's very annoying. Okay. So that doesn't belong there. Okay. Sorry, I'm reorganizing my playlists in real time. Steve Mignante? YouTube channel is a lot of fun. He used to host Junkyard Gold on the Motor Trend channel. Ah, yeah. No, as far as edible birds go, what is the one that's like it's sinful to eat? The ortolan or whatever? I never pronounced that right. I just remember it came up in the show Billions and like some other things where it's just like, oh, it's very shameful to eat this weird, delicate little bird and you just like a horrible cracking sound. It's like you gotta wear this weird veil, like a napkin on your head, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, wow, I just look so orangey red. What is going on there? Oh, we're brightening it up a lot. Maybe too much. Anyway, cool. We got that. Actually, you know what? This is a detailing kind of focused episode today. Got to put on my detailing hat. The question is, which one do I put on? Got some options. Maybe put on my Stjarna one today. Although so many buttons are on there, I got to move them back for a second. Let's see. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I really hope people are looking out. Okay, that's more like it. Much better. I feel a little less weird now doing my detailing cast without a proper detailing hat. There we go. So yeah, as far as the detailing community goes, look after your own. Make sure everybody's doing okay. You don't have to be like the helicopter parent kind of thing, but just, reaching out, letting other people feel seen. As I mentioned before, that's the move. Traeger turkey is the only bearable way. Traegers make everything better. No question. Yeah, no, I am a big fan of Traegers and what they can do. All right, so starting things off, not a detailing video, but it's Freddy. It's Tavarish. I hung out with him when we were at SEMA and stuff. He's just a very likable, entertaining guy. So I want to put on his video from SEMA here. Take a quick look at that. Apparently it's called Roasting YouTubers Terrible SEMA Builds, but from what I understand, he's not actually roasting people much at all. Excuse me. Catching up on the podcast. Yeah, no, Alex, do your thing in your own time. That's totally fine. No worries. You'll catch up on the podcast when you're good and ready. But yeah, I'll kick it over here to the React view. Let's get that popped up on the screen. Perfect. Okay. So, gotta unmute the site because, yeah, that's the thing. I gotta mute and unmute tabs. It's a whole thing. Figure this stuff out as we go along. But let's see what Freddy does walking around SEMA, checking out people's cars. Oh, thank you. Appreciate. Yeah, the weight loss has been it's been some work, and I just, ironically, I'll say cold turkey. I am just taking it cold turkey. I just stopped eating the shittiest foods that I was enjoying, and I just found a way to deal. But in the process, yeah, I've lost about 30 pounds. So it's definitely been a move in the right direction. I've been really glad with how things have been going, and I hope it doesn't stop anytime soon. I'm going to keep the walks up, all the exercise, all that. So, one step at a time, literally. How's Anthony doing? Anthony's doing well. He's basically just, hanging out at home, seeing his brother, all that stuff. So it's kind of been, he had the 2 days, of course, off when he came home. But then in addition to that, he had asked for the extra time off so he could do that as well. So that's been his move, is just hanging around the house. He'll be back when he's good and ready. Don't worry. But in the meantime, we've got Ugly Sweater Online yesterday that said defund the HOA. Yes, Alex. Defund the HOA. All right. On to Freddy. On to Tavarish. Let's watch his YouTuber build roasting video.
Is that a sticker? They put a sticker on the brakes.
Yeah, who puts stickers on brakes?
Why would you even bring this here?
It's honestly a piece of crap.
Good start. Really? Did a full-on Ligma joke there.
So if you guys are new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. And this is a different sort of episode because I am in Las Vegas at the SEMA convention. There's a lot of cars here. And I figured that since I had a video last year of making, well, let's say roasting YouTubers' cars, I figured I should do that again. And we have a very, very special car as our first sort of roast subject.
Oh, take a look at that.
Oh, it's the 4-rotor. I wish I could have gone and seen that one in person.
Jack?
This used to be an RX-7, right?
I think
that
it
what
used
that
to be
is?
an RX-7. It's not an RX-7 anymore because
color.
I don't think this is stock. Now, this is Rob Dom's car. This is a 4-rotor, has a turbo that's kind of, that's a small turbo, right?
Yeah, it's not that big. I would have gone with the next size up on that. You know, just a little more power.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is just putting out slightly more than stock power, but this thing is amazing.
That inboard
So
suspension
Rob
is awesome.
took the basic concept of the Unicorn, the 4-wheel drive monster, and then he revamped it. He has a giant 4-rotor, I think it's billet engine, like a billet block, and then he put a, I don't know how big that turbo is, but it's real
It's the
big.
size of your
It's,
fist, dude.
it's not a tiny boy. It also has stuff like scavenge pumps. It has everything. I mean, literally everything is billet here. He has a sequential transmission, a custom wide body. I mean, that's chunky.
That's
That-
good. That's
Thick
where I
with
get
3
into this.
seats.
That's what I like. I'm looking at the bodywork on this thing, and I'm like, man, it looks freaking awesome. Look at this. Look at how it even comes into the door. Like it's
Yeah, he really took a lot of time to put all this stuff together so it looks like a concept car, you know?
It looks amazing. I really like this weird shape here. Like it's like he really likes Doritos or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, is he? I don't know if he's a Dorito fan, if they're sponsoring him or something, but that's an interesting thing. So it's here at the Valvoline booth. Let's take a look inside, and you can see that exposed transmission. You see,
Oh, that's very
that
exposed.
is an open
I bet that thing gets
concept,
hot as shit when you're sitting
and,
in there.
you know, it's people pay more money if it was a house. You know.
You get better airflow, so you don't need one of those cool suits when you're racing it. You know, you're good.
Exactly. The air just goes straight through the car.
Yeah, the history of
and
the Corvette and the rotary is
we have
cool.
a carbon fiber.
I take
trunk
it you're
here,
familiar with the
carbon
Aero
fiber hood,
Vet.
and this isn't just like a carbon fiber hood you get from Sabon or something. This was custom made because they had to lengthen the entire chassis.
Dude, I did not know that.
Yeah. So, in order to get this to actually have a hood, they took 2 hoods, they cut them like this, and then they like glued them together. So this is like way longer. I mean, I have an RX-7. It is not this long in the front.
That's freaking awesome. Like that's a little key detail that you really don't see. Like you're
hadn't
not going
caught
to
the
notice that if
proportions
you don't
being that
know that
different,
they've
but that's
stretched this
actually
car. Or
awesome.
you haven't watched along with the series, but I haven't seen that part of the series. So now that I know that, I'm like, damn, that's really good. That's the custom craftsmanship on that is something that you don't see every day on stuff like this, especially
Rob Dom's
Yeah.
been
a race
working
car.
on this thing for
Well, I mean,
years.
this is definitely a race car. They took it out to Hoonigan, this versus that, or this versus Unicorn versus the World or something,
yeah,
right?
And he still has a lot of the
Oh, yeah,
the
that's the-
carnage from that race.
That's the race patina. I think, is that when the hood flew up and then smacked it?
Yeah,
in
it
the,
destroyed
Ay,
that
ay,
and
ay.
it exploded the back glass.
Yeah,
So,
that's fun. One thing I really like about this car is that it doesn't have that stupid plastic visor for the like the binnacle cover, because those always break. This is carbon.
My Miata had that freaking cover over the dash pod, and it was just, it felt like the shit. And mine never cracked or broke, but it felt like the kind of plastic that could go at any minute. And it just always made me nervous because I'm like, I don't want to have to replace that thing. It survived, but yeah, no, it always felt like the crappiest plastic.
Fiber, not gonna break. So if he has more of these, I want to buy them because they're real hard to find. Let's just take a look, one more look at this engine bay.
So nice.
Now this has been a project that was in the making like 6 or 7 years for him.
I was
And
gonna say,
believe
yeah,
it.
it's
we
been
know
a
things
long
about projects,
time.
right? We know how projects can take a little longer than they should. But I think now that it's here at SEMA, it looks fantastic. Everyone seems to love it. Rob's not here because he's too famous for us, but if you were to give this a score out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh man, the engineering, the thought behind it, everything there. I mean, this is way above 10. It's a 15 out of 10.
It's
I
a
mean,
15? Okay, you got it a 15. I give it
The amount
a
of time
solid
spent on that
17
thing.
out of 10.
Feels
Rob,
fair.
You did a really good job. So let's go check out some other cars.
Let's do it.
Now, 2 out of 3 guys
Keeps that. All right, we're moving past
Receiving
it.
plan come anything there of the .com S.
The Gentani booth with the Daily Driven Exotic 720 GTR. This thing looks nuts.
Dude, it's got a really good looking wrap on this. The combo with the color, I love the orange, almost reddish color with the carbon and the black. But
It is
it's
nice
freaking
reddish
awesome. This car looks
orange.
really good. This
You
car's
know as well as I do that McLarens don't really have like the best like body panel gaps and all that stuff, but I think they did a very, very good job. You stop it. I think they did a very, very good job.
Jay Davis can use Tavares' sponsor code KEEPS to regrow chest hair, then shave the TRC logo for Family Davis Family Hanukkah Photos 2022. My God, wouldn't that be a nightmare? Anyway, I feel like I don't want to go too far through this because I feel like it's probably going to sit there and delve in a little much on some of the cars. I wanted to see... There it is. Okay, what I really wanted to see was him looking at the Supra. Let's have him look at the Supra, and then I'll get into the detailing stuff. I want to make sure I can keep this within the 2-hour block tonight. But don't worry, guys. If you want to watch more stuff like that, you can always check out the video yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jack. And last but not least, we have... Dude, I don't even know what this is. I mean, I know it's like a Supra. It's like some 90s Toyota, right?
Yeah,
like they're
it's
played out, man.
Why would you even bring this here? It's like it doesn't even fit in anymore.
You got a bunch of like new cars over there,
like,
and then you got this old. I mean, it's honestly a piece of crap.
Yeah, it's a.
This camera is not doing the blue this car was justice. It was
into
gorgeous
early
blue in
JDM,
person.
Vehicles, and
Yeah, I mean,
really doesn't fit in.
They don't make them like they used to for a reason. This is JDM, so the steering wheel is not even on the right side.
It's literally on the right side.
This isn't like you want these things to be stock, don't you?
This doesn't even line up right here. Look at this. It's
Yeah,
a huge gap.
Yeah, that doesn't line up. There's a gap there. That's disgusting. Also, I mean, you got a little delete there for the rear windshield wiper, but I noticed that in the front they also had a wiper delete here. I mean, they're definitely not ready for SEMA. Like this is
It's almost like they got real
Oh,
lazy.
man.
They put the nuts on there, but they didn't even put anything else on.
it's dude, I hate when, you know, a project goes that far.
Yeah, Dan, the camera is not doing it justice. The camera makes it look purple. The thing was like a super deep, rich blue, but like a well-saturated blue. It wasn't like a faded kind of navy or midnight blue. This was a much richer blue. Think like Obsessed Garage kind of blue, but dark, dark, dark blue. And the funny thing was, yeah, all those new cars around, people can see new cars on the street. They usually aren't excited about new cars. At least the people like me aren't. I'm excited to see the things that I can't find on the street regularly. Something like this. Was that a factory color from late 90s Toyota? Yeah, no, it was sapphire blue metallic. So let's see. Mark IV Supra. Sapphire. Yeah. Blue metallic. Yeah. So basically it was like this color, but it was like a deeper shade. Yeah, that looks more like it. Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, no, I think the live stream I did at SEMA really did actually surprisingly do a good job of capturing the color. But no, like in person, it was really, really nice. Like if I had a Mark IV Supra, I would either want it in that color or I would want it in the green that came in. I remember they came in a pretty good green. Color. Green. That is not helpful. Let's try that again. Oh, try it again. And success. Okay, ignore the wrapped ones. Factory, you could get them in this green color. Now, I realize that's not the most exciting looking green in the world, but Imperial Jade Mica. Was that the color that came in? Yeah. I always thought it looked cool, but I'm trying to find one that's actually like a factory color. Okay, this looks to be the proper green. It was like green with gold badges. This is turning into the dress argument from 2015. Black, blue and black, or white and gold. My God, I saw the black and blue. FYI, I was one of those people. So that was yeah, that was me. Anyway, moving along, Distraction City. Let's continue.
And then they forget.
They don't even have the appearance cover.
There's no appearance cover here, so air
Even
just rushes past
Miata
here.
had the
It's-
appearance
I mean,
cover
can
over
this car
that.
even drive?
That's a hard question. I don't know. Maybe it can drive.
Yeah, I mean, this is something where, you can see what they tried to do, but I feel like it misses the mark. And
4.
Is that a sticker? They put a sticker on the brakes.
yeah, who puts stickers on brakes?
Yeah.
That makes, oh dude,
Go full send and paint it. Don't.
yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like, all right, we gotta give this thing a rating. What do you give it?
Negative 10. Negative 10.
I feel like these guys should be really, really embarrassed for bringing this car out here.
So embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for whoever brought this.
Yeah.
Okay, they should quit building.
Yeah,
things.
Dan, I think we have the same
you bring
brain
this?
sometimes. Anyway, okay, I was curious to see what he said there, but I think that pretty much rounded it out. All right, so it was just mostly tongue-in-cheek. Moving along, saw this video. I love these videos from this channel called Contempo Concept. They do like very particular kinds of, I guess you could say, restoration videos. Like there's detailing in them, but then there's also elements of like just car enthusiasm stuff that goes into it, but it's like super well curated. So I want to watch this one because I've never watched this video by them before. The videos I've watched have been like them basically exploding, in the sense that they're disassembling, exploding like an S2000 Club Racer and then reassembling it, stuff like that. So, but in terms of the aesthetic parts, not like the engine, but just like door panels and seats and console covers, all that kind of stuff. So this one's just 5 minutes of them dry ice blasting a 964 Porsche 911. I have 2 dry ice Porsche 911 videos back to back. Different though, mind you. So I'm curious to see how this works. Out of the 256K who watched that, I hope at least 25% of the people head over to TRC and buy some goodies. Alex, that's extremely sweet. Unfortunately, if you're familiar at all with click-through rates, I promise you it's nowhere near 25%. You're lucky if you get a fraction of that. But still, it's nice. Like, just nice to be noticed, right? And yeah, no, thing is, like, my day job, we can make videos all day long, but the real benefit oftentimes happens when you appear in someone else's videos. And then that someone else's video leads people to find your videos, and then they get to know you through your videos. And next thing you know, it's actually a positive feedback loop. And then you just keep that symbiotic relationship going. But yeah, you have to get people there first. So the hardest thing in the world is just getting the eyeballs. And then from there, it's up to you to handle where they go. Anyway, let's watch them dry ice blast a 964 Porsche 911. If you don't know, 911, chassis codes, that sort of thing. It's pretty simple, but the 964 was the very early 90s Porsche 911. Not the more rounded one that came a little later, starting in 94, 95, but prior to that. So after the 80s, you wound up with the 964. That's this. And that is like a really classic early 90s Porsche color too. Looks like frozen raspberry metallic or whatever. I think Matt Farah got his Boxster done in that color. Okay, so it's grimy. It's actually grimy underneath, despite looking very pretty from the outside already. There's a lot that can be done here. Okay, yeah, now we're talking. So dry ice is one of those things that's like incredibly satisfying to watch and just see work. Bring stuff that looks old and grimy back to life. But the actual use of dry ice, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And I think the biggest hurdle for a lot of people that they don't think about when getting into the dry ice game is the product itself, like being used. It's the challenge of having dry ice and not having it disappear. Because that dry ice will eventually disappear over the course of like part of a week. So you have to have that job lined up when it's time to do a dry ice job. Because what really sucks is you set up like a dry ice job to do on a car and the customer cancels last minute and you just spend all that money to get the dry ice shipped to you, and next thing you know, you're screwed. Yeah. It's okay, Alex. I will say black magic fuckery on my own stream. I can cuss here, it's alright. But you're right. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. And yeah, piano and cinematic video makes even the trashiest vehicle look spectacular. Yeah, you can do a lot with that, for sure. I mean, the camera work is very simple, but the images are high quality, so it's nice detailed shots. Detailed the last turbo my dealership sold. It was black and had terrible turbo lag. Now, allow me to be the first to say, I'm actually a fan of turbo lag, because turbo lag lets me know that the turbo is there. If I want to buy a car with a turbo because I'm expecting a turbo performance experience, I like having a bit of that 80s, 90s lag in there, because it reminds me that there's boost being built. Like the instantaneous response stuff, I get the impact of the turbo, the power's there, but it doesn't feel quite as exciting because it just feels like linear power. It just feels like the really, really good turbo setups are very linear, and it just feels like you're, driving an NA car. Hey look, PPE! I'm looking at you, Dona Media. Yeah. Okay, and it is a Carrera 4, so this has got the all-wheel drive system. Yeah, the 964 was the first generation to offer a four-wheel drive system in the lower models, basically anywhere in the line, because prior to that, when you had the turbo model, for example, the prior turbo was, call it the Widowmaker, the 930 Turbo. Yikes! 964 turbos are cool, though. I love the way they look. Cars that have lag usually rev out and don't fall on their face. It gives the engine such great Exactly! And, when we did Wash Wednesday with a Porsche 959, that was a great example of a car that had, there was some turbo lag, but man, when it kicked in, that thing punched you in the face. It was great. It actually had a lot of character. And that was a car that I always, had a soft spot for. A lot of people prefer the F40 because it's the more, poster car worthy looking one, but man, for my money, the 959, I just love that. And granted, the F40, also a turbo car. But if I had a choice between an F40 and a 288 GTO, I'm kind of that guy who would pick the 288 GTO. I realize it's sacrilege to some people, but I think there's a myth that's really pervasive that gets into people's heads where they think that the F40 is the rarest car ever, and they don't realize that Ferrari actually made quite a few of them by rare car standards. So despite the value of the F40, I think the value for the F40 is really tied up more in the pause. I think the value of the F40 is a lot more tied up in its heritage and the bedroom wall poster kind of quality to it. And obviously the driving experience is amazing too, but compared to some other cars in the same orbit, Ferrari actually made quite a few F40s, whereas the F50 was one that I always preferred. I preferred the F50 over the F40 because I prefer the V12 in the F50 over the turbo V8 in the F40. I just love the sound, the character, that kind of stuff. If I'm going to have an NA car, have it be a V12 and sing, like that's awesome. But yeah, no, turbo lag is fun. Always keeps the turbo experience exciting. Exactly. If your car's turbo and you can't feel that it has a turbo, I just kind of get the impression that that's not, worth having. A lot of cars today, if they have a turbocharger, it's for economical purposes, fuel economy purposes, more so than performance. Unless it's a performance trim or model, but even then, you'll find base models nowadays for cars in many lineups that are just ordinary move you from A to B type cars, and they've got turbos. But they're like itty bitty turbos, and they're just there to make up for a lack of displacement or some other thing. So yeah, it's just their way of like, oh, we can technically get these good fuel economy numbers as long as you stay out of boost. That's the part they don't tell you, because as soon as you're in boost, it's basically like driving the higher displacement vehicle. You're getting the worst fuel economy. And yes, Porsche File, I thought you might appreciate this, but you know what? You might also appreciate the next video I'm about to watch, which is another dry ice video involving a Porsche 911. So I have an itty bitty turbo. What's in your car, Ethan? What engine do you have? I'm gonna kick it over to the next video though while we wait for Ethan to answer. That's right, on a 1.4 liter. Okay, yeah. Basically, when you're that size, yeah, it's an economy style turbo, and also a 1.4 liter. Okay, what do you guys both drive? I'm trying to think like what 1.4 liters am I familiar with? Something in the Honda family, something in the Toyota. Oh, an Abarth 500. Okay. Now, granted, it's an Abarth, so that's the one that's like crackles and spits. Malibu. Oh. I think the Sonic might also have a 1.4 turbo. Yeah, I think the Sonic had one. Pretty sure it's a 1.4. Maybe off. I know Honda has a 1.5. But there's a difference in spooled versus non-spooled. I'm talking floored in first for a while before any boost. Okay, yeah. And that's also true. I like it where you can very clearly build the boost. But I really like the sensation of on and off boost feeling very different from one another. Because I like it when it kicks you in the butt. Oh no, you got hit with an ad spot? I didn't tell it to do that. My apologies. But yeah, so FYI, if you get hit with the ads here on Twitch, you can subscribe, which is obviously an option. That'll prevent you from seeing the ads. The other option is if you have Amazon Prime, you can use the Twitch Prime feature, which just lets you sub to anybody you want on here, a freebie every month. You can just sub to somebody for free using your Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime type deal. So yeah, you got options. Anyway, next video I'm going to here, I've got dry ice cleaning and detailing Denzel Washington's 993 Porsche 911 Turbo. A dream car of mine if there ever was one. Man, I love those 993s, but especially the Turbo. Funny enough though, I think aesthetically, I might even prefer the 964 Turbo. Just in aesthetics, like in its own way. Like this is great, but the 964, something about the shape is like even more exaggerated. Like it just looks like fabric draped over the Porsche shape. It's just, I don't know, something about the lines I really like on the 964. Kind of like the one in Bad Boys, that one? That was cool. Anyway, moving along, let's see what they do here for the dry ice cleaning and detailing. This is a 20-minute video, so this is going to be a little bit more involved. But yeah, let's see where they take this. Their lift situation is very different from the other one. Holy cow! Look how much color returns. You know what makes me happy though? Seeing how dirty this is. That tells me that Denzel actually used it. And I like knowing that. Good job, Denzel. Yeah, all right. Yeah, dry ice cleaning is no joke, though. When it's good, it is amazing. Literally bringing it back to like new status. I mean, yeah, there's a few little bits here and there you can see they miss, but it's just minor little misses. It doesn't really affect anything, but holy cow, it looks so much nicer. Nice under tray aero work on the car. I always forget they actually had pretty good underbody aero even back in the 993 days. NACA ducts, yeah. Love 993s. Agreed, Rigdon. They were the 911 that I grew up with. I grew up with the 964 first and then the 993, but I was really into cars by the time the 993 came out. So that was kind of one of my first model cars. I think was a Porsche 928 and then a 993 911. I feel Denzel has a pep talk with the car before he drives this thing. All right, kid, we're going to go for a little drive and you're going to do exactly what I tell you. All right, let's go. Yeah, no, some training day style chats with the car. I'll upload this. Oh, okay. So, Porsche File, I'm glad you asked because I realized not everybody has seen this stuff before, so they're looking going, what exactly is happening here? To put it in the most basic terms, this is a machine, kind of looks like a vacuum cleaner, like a big kind of, hot water extractor or vacuum cleaner device. Usually sits on the ground. They come in different shapes and sizes, but basically what you need to know is, yeah, it's it's just a big unit that's on the ground that rolls around, looks like a vacuum, and at the end of it is actually this like gun. Think of it like a pressure washer gun attached to a hose and stuff. And it's basically force feeding air through the tubes and also grabbing the reserve like ammunition that is dry ice that you put into it and then forcing it out through like really high pressure into a concentrated burst that you then put onto these surfaces. And you can control how strong it is. You can control, I think, temperature on some, although, it's dry ice, so there's only so much you could do with that. But a lot of it is just like the attachments. You can control how wide the blast is. Yeah, exactly. So it is like sandblasting. That's probably the best way to explain it. If you're familiar with sandblasting, it's just like sandblasting or glass blasting, but you're using dry ice as the medium instead. And the whole deal with the dry ice is that it really scrubs, cleans, heavily impacts the very top layer, but it lets the rest of the stuff underneath remain essentially untouched. Like it doesn't damage. Like it's something where it's a super finely tuned kind of process where you can actually clean these things without, cutting through them or removing texture or, that kind of stuff. You're just going through the stuff that's been caked on over the years. And that's the point. But it is nice. My dad had a black 97 S4 engine, 85 928 that was sleeved to 6 liter. Ooh, okay. Badass. Jeez. Well, I've got a 928 video coming up here too, so maybe we'll talk about those more when we get to that. I was always a big lover of the 928. Not everybody is, but I like them. And yeah, anyway, let's keep her going. But yeah, think of it like sandblasting, but with way less potential for damage to anything beyond the very surface level. Okay. Leaving the Cosmoline. Okay. Yeah, it's picking and choosing your battles. That makes sense. Some greased areas can just remain greased. That's fine. This is a good look, though. Yeah, Porsche file. One of the things that was probably the most interesting to me was when we did our... I'll pull up our segment from TRCMA when we had Dry Ice Energy come to the shop. He did interior material, like seats, and dry ice blasted seats. And it actually came out cool. Definitely an interesting methodology. It's not cheap, but it's highly precise and the results are excellent compared to just slathering something in a chemical. I mean, yeah, you can put a chemical on something and scrub away at it and eventually get more or less a clean result, but you could potentially leave marks on something you don't want to leave marks on, that kind of stuff. Dry ice isn't going to do that. But yeah, when using dry ice, you better be wearing PPE. Yeah, you can see it's just very finely tuned. All right, Ethan. We have fun, and probably see you back here in an hour. I'll probably be just about wrapping up in an hour, I'm thinking. But who knows? We'll see how it goes. Yeah, wheel wells can definitely benefit from this. There's so much embedded stuff. Porsche File asking, what happens when you use it on paint? Well, there are some specific scenarios where you use it on paint and it's okay, but it really kind of depends. If you're talking about like on a car's body, like on clear coat style stuff, it's not really the type of cleaning you're gonna want to do on a surface like that. But if you look like what he's doing around the brake calipers and on the shocks and stuff, those are painted and they're fine. It just cleans the crap off of them. I mean, yeah, look what it did for those brake calipers. But on the actual body of a car, you're usually not having stuff that's embedded and baked on in the same way. It's just not really cost effective to use that on a car body anyway. That would be a pretty odd scenario to do that on a car's body. However, there are lots of people who would use something like steam on the actual body panels, and that's fine. People who would do a steam wash as opposed to washing in the car, you know, soap and water, or rinseless wash and water, that kind of thing. Yeah, dry ice, not so much. Well, Porsche File, like on heavily oxidized paint, the usual method would be actually polishing, because if the paint is oxidized, I mean, you're looking at either, if it's single stage, you might be able to bring it back, but if there's clear coat failure, then you're looking at just having to do a repaint. You can polish away as much as you like and make it shiny, but you're not going to fix like actual physical damage that is totally done. You can see how swirled this is, for example. That's just, you know, years of loving with a towel, that kind of thing. And that's where you get a lot of those marks. It's just somebody dusting or drying or rubbing, you know, not so great things like California car dusters or heavy like paper towels and things on a dirty surface and dragging those dirt particles around and causing the swirls and scratches. This will show really, or loving with a saw. This is not that kind of stream, my friend. But yeah, you can see he's going in with the dry ice and getting these areas where there's definitely spots where normally a dry ice cleaning wouldn't really call for it in too many cases, but engine bays you can clean for sure. Yeah, like that stuff comes out pretty easy. The other benefit is, yeah, getting into tight nooks and crannies like that. Yeah, exactly, like panel gaps and stuff. So nice. And you can see it's not hurting the paint. It's one of those situations where it's like, as soon as you go a particular distance away, it's not doing anything. Yeah, so this is what you were thinking when you were asking about paint. Yeah, like I like that he's focusing on like super tiny detail areas that can benefit from it. Yeah, when I saw 97, I was confused because I'm like, clearly we're talking about an 80s car here. Yeah, so Porsche file, it is safe to hit it, as evidenced by what you just saw. Yeah, see, okay, now the car apparently had paint protection film on it. This one looks like the very typical for wide body, Porsche 911s, the area where the rear wheels kick out. That fender flare, a lot of people will put some kind of paint protection film, PPF, on there. And you can see the color difference because PPF is great for a while, but over time it can get cracks in it, it can yellow. It's basically just meant to be like a clear Band-Aid you preemptively put over your car to stop rocks from chipping the paint underneath, that kind of thing. And yes, over time it does become ugly, and you got to replace it, which is why steaming to remove it right now. And it can be a real bear of a job, like trying to replace PPF. It's usually not a pleasant experience because most PPF, by the time someone decides they need to remove it, it's been on there for too long. So it doesn't want to come off easy. But the nice part about it is once you remove the PPF, the paint is still nice underneath, which the whole point is preserving that so that when the day comes, you do eventually decide to sell it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Or you just want to keep it looking nice. You'll be able to have that original paint underneath. Have to repaint a quarter just because, rocks decided to wreak havoc on this one part of your car's body that stuck out. There we go. Yeah, it's the adhesive left over that's often the worst part. Stuff sucks. I got a lot of adhesive left over from the stripes on my van that I still haven't managed to get rid of. It's stupid, honestly. I haven't tried Steam, though. I should try Steam. Yeah, and then you gotta scrape it all off like that. Blech. Yeah, it's all nice and swirly and bleh. Yeah, look at that old stuff. But you notice the paint ages very differently when it's under there. It's still swirly and all that, but it's underneath, so kind of color is different because it didn't receive the same wear and tear that the paint that wasn't covered did. And we got that blower. Looks like a big boy blower. I believe they're based out of Australia. When I was at SEMA, I actually met and talked to the folks from there, and they were very cool. Waited for ICE to finish the job so we can start paint correction process. All right. So with the paint correction process, yeah, you want to make sure the car's all clean first. Polishing on a dirty car, I've seen people do it, but it's not good. It's just not, it's not a waste of time, but it's just not the way to go about that. Now this is where my methodology and my coworkers' methodology would differ from what I'm seeing happen here in the shop. We probably wouldn't have taped off anything because we tend to prefer to use polishes and compounds that don't affect trim or, you know, anything that might be a problem. We just want to use polishes and compounds that'll actually play nice on those surfaces and maybe even clean them in the process, but they won't damage or hurt them. I think the reason they're taping in this case, though, is they don't want to get polish or compound trapped into the gaps, the panel gaps. And I can understand that. I think sometimes you can work around that, and if you get it soon enough afterwards, you can just clean it by wiping it out, but I think they're just trying to save themselves some effort by making sure that doesn't happen in the first place. So I understand that. I'm referring more to the fact that they taped the trimmer on the windows and they taped the bumper guards, that kind of stuff. Yeah, taping is really annoying, so the less taping you have to do, the better. I've stopped it whenever I polish. No, Alex, that's why we love the Last Cut compound so much. And Rupes Uno has been fantastic too. Like, I'm not sure necessarily off the top of my head if it's fine on trim, but it's never been a problem for us, like getting it close. Thank you, Detailing Division, for these great mini buffer and extensions. Yeah, that's cool. Looks like he's got a flex tool there. Yeah, the 993 generation is a very curvy car, but especially with that spoiler on it, there's a lot of like interesting angles to those, and yeah, you want to have a little bit smaller polisher to be able to work on that. I'm waiting for the comment about, oh, not a Viper chair. Oh, there we go. Now that's some really good use for dry ice cleaning, is getting rid of all this crap on the inside of your wheel barrels. The stuff that definitely just gets baked in. Also, you think that's a C43 AMG out there? Or does he just have the wheels of one? I think it is. I'm seeing the front and rear bumper and the side skirts seem to match. There we go. Now that's what we need, a turntable in our shop. Yeah. No, good man, McDuggins. That's right. Never had to tape. Because you're using the Last Cut. Smart. That's definitely the preference here. Yeah, the ones for us that we always like using are like the Last Cut compound, Rupes Uno, and Hyper Polish from Optimum. Hyper Polish and Hyper Compound from Optimum were like the original ones that got us into the whole no taping thing. But we found compounds that we like better than the Hyper Compound since then, but Hyper Polish itself is fantastic still. Yeah, trying to polish the surfaces on the brake calipers. Not the easiest thing in the world. There's a lot of little angles to that. And it looks like he's using an LHR 75. The 3-inch mini polisher. Rupes. Yeah, I also have that chair. Needs a Viper chair. Yeah, see, I knew that was coming. What are your guys' policies on badges? Working around badges, that can be a little bit challenging for some, because some people, they want to remove the badges and put new ones on when they're done. That doesn't make sense for a lot of cars, but like on something where it's not going to impact like resale value or something and the owner's cool with it, okay, maybe, but putting a freaking badge back on at the end is, oh boy, you better line that up right. But for a lot of people, it's just working around the badges and not chewing it up. Ooh, those wheels look nice now. Yes. Good job with the Koshemi. Nice. That's the other thing. Koshemi does an excellent job with their polishes and compounds as well. It's definitely a little more of a system where you're kind of using multiple parts, but it's awesome. I'm just a big fan of like keeping it simple, so the last cut appeals to me a ton because of that. That and Rupa's Uno Protect I also love. Oh, I got them new tires too. The famously useless rear seats. 911 rear seats. Oh boy. There's something very satisfying about the motion blur on the sped up footage. It just kind of has like the smearing effect, but it's more pleasing to the eye than just seeing crisp footage that moves too fast. I actually prefer the motion blur. Kind of ghosts it. Ah, SwissFax. Love SwissFax. Man, that thing is coming out looking good. Yeah, I'll subscribe to that. Also, good job, IM Detailing. You got 2.6 million views on this. Jeez. I hadn't even looked. Look at that tripod, and you can see the orange peel in the paint. We are not fixing that today, gentlemen. Oh, now they're putting new PVF on there. Man, these guys are doing like a full meal deal. Okay. This is not a cheap job, what they're doing. This is not a cheap job. Yeah, make sure you get it right. Make a slip solution, you work it in there. With any luck, it just sort of disappears onto the surface, maybe, kind of, sort of. It's still visible. You catch the light right on it, you'll see it, but man, that looks good. Beautiful. I don't know, guys, what do you think? I think they knocked it out of the park, personally. Beautiful work. I just wish I could afford a 993. Holy cow. They're so expensive now. Even for a base model. I actually always thought that the Targa of the 993 generation was really interesting because it was before most cars had like panoramic sunroofs, but on the 993 Targa it essentially was that. Great job polishing the Beetle. Yes. The fast Beetle. Costa Mesa. Nice. Okay. Holy shit. Okay. Wow. Just burying the lead there. You have a freaking Mercedes SL Black Series sitting outside. That's a rare car. And who doesn't love this E30 battle wagon looking coupe over here? That thing looks cool. And of course there's a 355 Spider, naturally. But that Black Series, wow. I'm not even like a big Mercedes guy, but I know how special that specific Black Series is. Those are, wow, very cool. Anyway, that was nice. I think we all felt like we got something out of that, I hope. Even you, Porsche File, it was something that you could enjoy too. Okay, moving along. I have a Porsche 928. Wow, it's a very Porsche night here. I didn't really mean for it to go that way, but it just sort of ended up that way. Before I get started on this one, I will give people a heads up. It's about to be a 1-minute ad break here at the top of the hour. It's not really the top of the hour, but it's an hour into the stream. So I am going to hit the button here just for 60 seconds. If you'd like to avoid the 60-second ad break, all you got to do is subscribe, and that's really it. You can subscribe. Or if you want to avoid it for free on your end, you can always use Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime, to have your freebie of the month. Whatever you want to do, you can apply that to the streamer of your choice. Maybe that's me, maybe that's somebody else. Either way you want to do that, that's awesome. All right, that's it. So 60-second ad break coming up now. All right, as for the rest of you, if you're subscribed, you don't have to worry about that stuff. It doesn't affect you. But this upcoming video here, we've got Porsche 928, first wash in 15 years. Most disgusting, moldy, abandoned Porsche ever, according to Larry, aka Ammo NYC. Now, this video came out 8 months ago, the better part of a year. And yeah, I didn't mean for this all to be front-loaded, super Porsche heavy, but it just wound up that way. So let's take a look at that. Up in a second here. Here we go. That took a while. 88. Okay, pretty close to your 87. Yes. Now we're talking. Larry's not messing around. He's wearing the PPE.
Hooper! He's on the end. He's about to shoot the shark, and Hooper's trying to tie the thing up. I'm always waiting for him, so I call him Hooper. I'm always waiting for Hooper.
The Porsche 928 is considered a luxury Grand Tour made from 1978 to 1995.
I'll tell you what. There's like 25 seconds left in that ad break. I'm going to go ahead and let it sit for a second. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see this. So even though I got to run those breaks, I want to make sure you guys actually get a chance to see this stuff. Probably bad for business on my end, but that's okay. I just want to make sure I take care of you guys. You're watching, you're spending time to be here. I appreciate it. So anyway, outside of these Porsche videos, is there anything else you guys would like to see me focus on in the future? When it comes to detailing, when it comes to car-related content, is there stuff that you're looking for that you feel like I'm not delivering on right now? Is there something that I could be doing differently or better that you guys would be down with? Otherwise, I'll keep doing what I'm doing, certainly, but I'd love to integrate some new ideas. If anybody has something they want to throw out there, I am all ears. So, yeah, just let me know. All right. Now that that's done, we can continue on with the video.
The Porsche 928 is considered a luxury Grand Tour made from 1978 to 1995 and has the distinction of being Porsche's first front-mounted water-cooled V8-powered model.
And they had the wildest interior too. Holy crap, I forgot about the super hallucinatory interior you could get in some of those like early 80s, late 70s 928s. Oof. My personal dream though, my 928 that I really wanted was always the GTS. And they're like impossible to find, and they're so stupid expensive. You can find 928s all day long for like 15 grand or less. 10 grand or less, it used to be the case, but 15 grand or less seems to be the running order now. Except for the GTS. The GTS still goes for stupid money. And one of the reasons I love them is it's so dumb. I could just get a different 928 and do this to it, but the GTS is the one that had the full width like taillight bar, whereas none of the other ones did. So like if I pull up a 1995 928 GTS, the rear, it's just a stylistic thing I always preferred on Porsches to have the taillight bar. And when they didn't have a taillight bar, it always felt incomplete to me. So yeah, So the 928 GTS got the taillight bar that went around. It's just that little red section in the middle that just completed the look. And it just always looked better to me. But if you didn't get the GTS, you would wind up with, that is ridiculous. Now if I type in 1990 928 non-GTS, the taillights are essentially, well, that's a GTS there. Where's a non-GTS? I need the rear. Come on. Okay, perfect. Boom. Just like that. It's an S4. It's a later gen. Still had the nicer, like, cleaned up lines. There's an early one looking very, 80s. But, yeah. You can get them. And that's nice, but the GTS had the line across the back. And for some reason, I have to have that line. I just have to have it. So, yeah, that's a personal taste thing, I guess. Anyway, that's just me being a very pedantic weirdo on that stuff, so. Journey continues.
This one here is a 1988 928 S4, which has a 5-liter 4-valve.
This one had the line
cam
added in.
producing
I think the owner must have
316
added
horsepower and a 50-50 front-to-rear weight distribution. Despite weighing roughly 3,500 pounds, it's still quite agile. Plus, it's also a manual, making it highly desirable. By the time we convinced the owner to let it go, it was springtime and the snow had melted. I met up with the boys from North American Motor Car to load up the 928 after signing some paperwork, as NAMC would be the new owners of the car after I get it all cleaned up.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, boy. Look at that coat hanger.
Once inside and under the studio lights, you can see that this thing is a total mess. I mean, it's covered in mold, moss, leaves, dirt, and lots of black stuff covering pretty much every seam and crevice on the car. The first thing I needed to do, because of the level of dirt, was to raise the temperature of my pressure washer water to 120 degrees. I checked the inline meter to be 100% sure, and then I went to town.
Nice.
So, for step number one,
We need that in our
enjoy the
studio. Holy
most
crap.
soothing power washing session I've ever done. The before and after is shocking.
Cutting right through. Then you can really see what paint you have left.
Next, I opened the hood and blew out the acorns and mice nests out of every pocket before Ted starts the repair in a few weeks. You guys remember Ted. He can fix anything, including a 91-year-old doodlebug that was sitting in the woods for years before it started up and I drove it out. Now, click the link above if you haven't seen
That's
the video.
crazy.
Absolutely amazing transformation. Anyhow, you can see that the mice were living on top of the manifold, so we had a little bit of work to do down below.
Now check this out. Now I found one of the many homes in this car I'm sure to find, but this one's pretty interesting. If you look here, clearly they've been living right here. You see the brownness? That's pee, poo, that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's sort of like they're having a snack while they're in bed. If you look up here, when the hood comes down, obviously those two areas cover here. So they were probably hanging out here, looking up, munching on a little bit of the cushion. I think that's pretty interesting. I am sure.
Okay,
to
honestly,
find
that
more
is
homes.
interesting.
Next up, I wanted to see what the undercarriage looked like. If the top of the engine looked pretty bad, I can only imagine what underneath looked like. But first, I unlocked the lug nuts with the Porsche key so that I could
sorry.
loosen the bolts for
You unlocked the what, Larry?
look like. But first, I unlocked the lug nuts with
The lug knots.
the Porsche key so that I could loosen the bolts for later wheel removal. Then I mixed Boost, Brute, and Titan in the foamer to help release as much as I could during the 20-minute dwell time.
Hey, nice PF22.
Obviously, the goal here is
foamer.
just to let the cleaner do its work while I finish removing the wheels and then, of course, lifting the car to its full height to clean and inspect the underside.
All right, so I just lifted up the car and I'm wolfing down some food, taking a little snack break here. and I have a big light back there you can see, so we can see underneath the, underneath here. If you can see right over here, I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see it. There is, let's see if I can zoom in here. There is a ton of yellow spots. Do you see them right there?
Ooh.
That is urine. The urine is dripping down because I can smell it, but that's not grease. That is urine from the top. So that means I have to
That's
take
not
this whole piece
pleasant.
off here.
That's not
and
pleasant at
bring
all.
it down, and we are gonna find some interesting things. But anyways, wolfing down some food, and I was like, I smell urine, what is that? And then sure enough, came over here, urine drips. This is absolutely disgusting.
Ugh.
In this process, to get a little bit more access to the underside of the engine, I removed the front plastics, revealing a bunch more leaves, a few critter homes, and a renewed smell of urine.
Oof.
All urine. Ugh.
My first step here is just to douse it with Titan degreaser, then let it soak in for a few minutes, and then afterwards hit it with Brute wheel soap out of the foamer. My goal is obviously just to make it a little bit safer, a little bit cleaner, and I guess less annoying to work on if you were a mechanic like Ted.
Yeah, there you go. Pull on mask.
That is officially disgusting.
After my big scrub down, I rinsed once again and covered my floors in years of trapped dirt, grease, leaves, and whatever this is. I think a squirrel probably carried it up into the suspension, but it was pretty wild to see this stuck there. After a quick blowout with the compressor, the undercarriage wasn't Pebble Beach ready, but at the same time, you wouldn't be covered in urine either, so I considered it a win. With the car now down, I repeated the same steps on the top side and the engine. Lots of foam, lots of agitation with the microfiber towels, straight edge seam brushes, and round emblem brushes just to lift the years of mold and dirt. Afterwards, I cleaned the oily under tray with degreaser, then the wheels on the wheel stand.
Jay Davis
I'll
coming in
take a
for the
closer
back
look
to
at the
say
wheels
some German
themselves.
would
They're
pay a lot
completely
for
shot and in
Porsche
need of a
that pees
refinish,
on
but
it.
I gave them a quick clean, and they came back better than I expected. Once everything was washed, rinsed,
I can't
and
even
dried, there
comment
was a
on that.
bunch
You-
of
you made
stubborn
the
mold
joke.
areas sort of embedded in the surface of the paint that couldn't be removed with basic agitation.
All right, now check this out. This is a concept called pinching. What happens is the paint heats up and contracts 1,000 times over its lifetime. This one in particular has been sitting outside for 10 years, and if it's outside, it's really gonna be really hot, really cold, really hot, really cold. What does that mean? What happens is, you can see here, I can't get the rest of this mold off. I've washed it, I've scrubbed it, I've hit it with degreaser, I've done everything I possibly can. It's not releasing it. So then I called Kevin and we talked about this concept called pinching. When it heats up and the dirt is on it, it falls down, and then of course, as it cools down, and it does this process 100 times, the dirt sort of falls deeper and deeper into the paint, metaphorically speaking. So what we need to do in this case is to heat it up to be able to open up those pores where the dirt's underneath, open up those pores. Then I can go in there with a towel and kind of easily clean it. So I said, okay, let's test this process. In this case, I'm taking the steamer, right? Steam it up. You hit a little spot.
Superheat it.
Now, look at that. It's 1,000 times easier to clean. Why? Because I just opened up those pores, just like on your skin. As soon as you open them up, boom, you can clean it with a microfiber towel, pulls it right off, easy breezy. I wanna do this
I like how he's putting the mold right back into his face.
now so that when I'm compounding later, all that residue doesn't get stuck in the pad. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
With most of the exterior mold gone, now I focused on the interior mold. Step one is to remove everything from the inside and do a little bit of investigation while I do my initial vacuum. Although it's dirty and definitely moldy, it's actually not in horrible shape, meaning physically it feels good, which is really great news for the new owner.
That's right, Alex. There it is. Ooh.
That's where I lost my keys.
My specific technique on this interior was to first quickly heat up the seat with steam, spray lather, then agitate.
Honestly, G, like in person, he's like more chill version of the guy you see in the videos. Pretty close, I'd say. Like, he's definitely, he gets neurotic up in his own head about stuff, but he's just like anybody else. You get concerned about, oh, did I make the right impression there? Did I do that thing? Like, he's a guy, but at the same time, like, he is very interesting to talk to because his ideas about things are unique in some cases. Other cases, he's just he's a leader in the industry, and a lot of people look at it that way. But credit where credit's due. He knows when to wear PPE. He wears proper personal protection equipment better than just about anybody in their videos. Like, he is very good about that. Just very particular. But yeah, no, I would say that the best way to describe him is particular. But I mean, Anthony's particular too. So that's just part of the story.
Tape with my interior dual density small brush and then simply scoop it up with a microfiber towel. As you can see, I didn't use the steam and the lather together because the seats were just not as bad as the oily GMC truck that required more strength to clean it. My point is this: use only what is needed and no more. Less is more during a preservation detail. When I was done, I followed up with compressed air to speed up the drying process and to remove any last remaining bits that I may have dislodged during the cleaning.
Ooh.
The passenger side rear cushion was worse than all the others, so I removed it and put it on the workbench so I could clean it a little bit better. I repeated the same steps on the rest of the interior, the doors, and the door jambs, which were a complete mess.
But like if he finds something that it gets nerdy about,
now check
he
this
actually
out.
gets
The
pretty
928 door
enthusiastic.
sill sign had a bunch of brown
Like, he's mostly
junk
chill,
stuff
but he
in
will
all
get
the edges.
enthusiastic
So I
about
lifted it
stuff if it
gently
ends up
by
being
hand
something
and
he's
used the pressure from
really
the steamer
interested
to
in.
flush out all the debris. You can also see that the plastic clearly broke years ago, but at least it looks 1,000 times cleaner than it did before. I repeated the same steps on the door and the passenger side seat as well.
Oh, missing. Hate that. He's a high-profile disaster video guy now. I haven't watched his channel in a long time. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the dividing line for a lot of people is like, do you watch disaster detail stuff? If that's not for you, then it's not surprising. Move on to other things. He's still like technically super proficient. It's just this is what pays the bills for him. Like, as far as the YouTube side of it, he has other business stuff that obviously pays the bills, but in terms of running the channel, the best way for him to grow his brand. I mean, he's over 2 million subscribers now. Wow. Yeah, wow. He grew a lot in the last little while here because I remember I felt like maybe just a couple of years ago I was looking, he had like 730,000 subscribers or so, but now he's over 2. So, wow. Okay. Clearly the disaster detail stuff is working, but it's like when you see other channels that try and hop on that bandwagon, if it's not their usual forte and they try and do it, it can kind of backfire and people won't be about it. It really comes down to the quality of the actual content itself. Thing is, Larry's content is always very high quality. You may not like the subject matter necessarily, but for what he's doing, he does keep the quality very high, like not wasting your time. Yes, it's 22 minutes, but the stuff is pretty, detailed. Oh, Gary Dean. I won't judge you. I know what Gary Dean is like too, because I used to talk to him on the phone all the time when he bought our products. I'll just say he's interesting. I haven't seen any of Gary Dean's stuff in the more recent years, though. I haven't honestly looked at any of his stuff since probably about 2015
Now the trunk
or
was
16.
a different story altogether. I couldn't just blast it with a power washer, so I had to use the aerator and frother anti-salt to sort of spray it on there and then scoop up the dirt and mold without soaking all the sensitive parts with water in the trunk.
This is an 80s Porsche, after all.
Afterwards, just to kill a little bit of time, I re-scrubbed the calipers and suspension and needed a little bit more work until my latest version of the steam vac arrived in the mail to steam clean the carpets and of course the floor mats that I had previously removed from the car.
Fancy steam vac.
With the car now cleaned but not polished, I reinstalled the wheels because outside I finally received my Dr. Goop floor product in the mail. So me and the team from Dr. Goop pushed the car outside to redo the floor for the 4th time. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you haven't been keeping up with my floor debacle, it's been a soap opera to say the very least, but the failures that have happened over the past couple of weeks have been absolutely astonishing. So to make a very long story short, the builders failed to put rebar in the concrete the original time they poured it. So when I drove on the floor, it went up and down like a waterbed. As you can see in these pictures, the chunks of concrete that they cut up afterwards had no rebar through it. So it's sort of like pouring concrete on dirt in an open field. It has nothing to secure itself to. I cannot make this up.
That's insane.
This time they installed rebar. They poured concrete, and afterwards I called Dr. Goop himself to make sure my floor covering would be perfect this one last time. I'll have a full video coming soon on the studio channel if you want to see the step-by-step process for your garage floor, but here is a week or so of work in 30 seconds. First, we taped off my cabinets and installed thick cardboard to protect the finish, as round 2 of the previous floor's installation dinged and dented my cabinets in the process, which was not good. As I mentioned, this is actually a DIY product, but because my floors are such a disaster with so many different layers that needed to be scraped up, I just called in the professionals to show me the step-by-step process. First, I scraped up the little bits of clear broth that were stuck to the ground over the past few weeks.
Yeah, gee, I'm pretty sure
then I pulled up the old coating, which is a lot more annoying than it looks, before sanding all the cracks with a polisher, scraping the floor again, chasing the cracks with yet another saw, making stress relief cuts on each lift opening with my trusty broom handle, then vacuuming and sweeping like there's no tomorrow. Oh yeah, then we scraped again and vacuumed again before mixing Dr. Goop's special juice, filling the cracks by hand, rolling the moisture-tolerant primer across the entire garage, then mixed up the metallic gray with the drill and rolled it on the floor as the base color. Then the top coat is added for slip resistance and an amazing design with the squeegee. When done, my floors look like a mural and they're incredibly strong. I'll have a lot more information on the studio channel, and my specific colors and info are in the description below.
Not gonna lie.
A week or so later, I pulled the 928 back inside and started the paint polishing process with a Meguiar's red foam pad. The before and after is absolutely huge on both the paint and the pad.
Oh yeah, good old Rupes DA course. Of course, it's a white vehicle, so polishing it's going to be a little tricky to show before and after, but you can definitely see. Yeah, that's coming right up. The one thing I just don't like about a lot of 80s cars is that friggin' like dent trim piece that goes along the middle, like a character line on a lot of the cars. It just doesn't look good.
Okay, when you apply compound to your pad, this is an exorbitant amount. There's way too much, right, for normal polishing. But in this case, because there's so much residue coming off, it has to be filled somewhere. Obviously, the combination of the pad and the liquid, in this case compound, there has to be enough of that to hold onto it. Sort of like if you were plowing your driveway, the plow can only push so much. So what you need to do is either take smaller bites of the driveway or get a bigger plow. In this case, I put more liquid, so I'm making it a bigger plow so that I can push more residue.
I was going to say, that is a very large backing plate pad he's got on there.
But it's just sort of...
Looks like probably a 6-inch.
Covered in this stuff, but it's looking 1,000. I mean, that looks like brand new paint back there. So pretty excited.
Probably had never been polished before. Ah, the classic Rupes sound. Can't mistake it.
On the
Yeah,
roof,
that's
the
a lot
steam could
better.
only lift so much of the mold and dirt, so I needed to add even more heat plus mechanical agitation with the red pad. Now, the downside is that your pad is going to fill up with residue faster and likely be required to be replaced faster, so keep that in mind if
Yeah,
you use this
you
technique.
just got to have extra pads.
Now here's where it gets super interesting. After the mold or tree sap is removed, you can see the
Oh.
pinching I mentioned earlier under magnification.
I mean, it leaves a mark,
Look at the
essentially.
divots that were created over time. Now, we just cleaned out those divots with the red pad, but to remove those divots, or the valleys we call them, you're gonna have to level or sand the paint. Now, because the paint is old and because it's very thin, I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
you would go right through that.
Afterwards, because of the amount of residue and dirt from the compounding process, I had to quickly re-wash the car to clean the
Yeah.
gobs of dead paint residue off the surface.
I bet this thing will look awesome when it's done, though.
Once everything was dry, I touched up the paint with my needle and syringe and made
Also,
an easily
nice
avoidable mistake.
AMG GT Black
Okay,
Series
I'm behind the
it.
camera. I've been touching up a little bit of the areas here. Not a big deal, but using the syringe and the needle. And what I did was I forgot to smack it, click it with like this, and then squirt out a little bit to get the air out. And when you do that, or let me say you don't do that, you make a silly mistake like this, you can see there's little tiny air bubbles in there. Easy enough where I can just go in and wipe this off and start over, but it was a little bit of a dumb mistake. I should have slowed down a little bit and tapped it.
What if you
squirted
just
a little
poke
bit
the air
out,
bubbles? Would that
release
be
the air,
your
you're good to go. So
problem?
make sure you keep that in mind.
It's like hyper precision Dr. Color Chip style stuff.
Finally, I
Jeez.
did one last vacuum and installed the carpets, mats, rear seat that needed a little bit more love, owner's manual, and other valuables before adding mousse moisturizer to the seats and trim.
All right, buddy, then you can stop. We're done. We're done, princess. All done.
I always thought the seats in those looked really cool, though, including the rear
To be
seats.
super clear, this is not to add shine, although it will have gloss during the application process. This is to add moisture and protection to a dry or weathered surface. Now, after a few minutes, remove the excess material and the surface will return to a matte finish. On the paint, I added Reflex Pro to protect the surface now that I removed the dead layer of skin, which actually looked pretty terrible, but at the same time, it did protect the good paint underneath it, sort of like a windbreaker. So adding protection once you remove this old windbreaker is
Yeah,
an
Jay.
important step to
Can't drive it.
minimizing future oxidation. With the pickup day coming tomorrow, I added mud dressing to the trim and tires and cleaned the glass with Obey and a squeegee before the flatbed arrived.
Well, guys, we're done with the 928, and the thing looks absolutely amazing. Believe it or not, it's actually white underneath all the green mold and the black sap, or I don't even know what was on the car. But once you got underneath all of that, it actually looks spectacular, and the paint is really high quality. So I love these single-stage paints. I do believe 928s are going to be coming back popular, because I mean, look at this thing; it's absolutely amazing. Again,
Oh,
the
it's
wheels
great.
are roached out, as you can see.
Oh, they're such a
And back
unique
here, just take a look
looking
at that. I
car,
brought in
too.
the 964 D90s. Design 90s, and I wanted to try it on there. It didn't look all that great, but I'm sort of kind of
Yeah.
falling in love with this car and tweaking it. I'm like, man, what would the tints look like? Let's change the wheels around. That's the exciting part about finding these cars and sort of bringing them back. Somebody texted me on Instagram and said, it's the Larry look back, meaning because I'm constantly looking back at the car when you walk away. So I thought that was kind of clever. On that note, because I do think these are coming back strong, this car is owned by North American Motor Car. I'll put the link down below. It is for sale, but I'm sure people are like freaking out already and texting me. So a huge privilege of mine to be able to do a car like this, find it,
Yeah,
and
that
bring
came
it
out
back to life,
beautiful.
hopefully put it back on the road with the new owner. That's a big deal for me. So very exciting episode. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon.
I mean, they're pushing it around, but there's still the likelihood that it could run. I mean, I don't know that it doesn't, unless it says something in the description. But the fact that it was sitting for 15 years, I don't think you'd want to run that without emptying all the fluids, replacing it with new fluids, like dealing with that part, flushing it probably. Because when stuff sits, it creates like a film in areas. You don't want to be running that. I wonder how much it went for. Yeah, I mean, well, out of curiosity, let's pull up a trailer. Or 928's going for these days, at least the really nice ones. Because I know what like cheap ones of Facebook Marketplace are going for, but what are fixed up ones going for? That's a lot more. Oh, that's a GT and that's a GTS. So, yeah, that's got to be a GTS up here. Yep, that's what I expected. God, why is it always the ones that I want are the most expensive? I don't want them because they're expensive. They just happen to be expensive because they have the attributes I want. Apparently, everybody else thinks so too. Wow, that's pretty. Okay, so yeah, for me, aesthetically, I just vastly prefer the 90s ones over the earlier ones. Just for the look. I mean, yeah, some people like the look of the earlier ones, but I'm not as into that. 80s German tuner. Oh yeah. But what I'm seeing here is a lot. Nice. Holy crap. 112. Is it a GTS though? Just an S4? Oh my god, it's not even a GTS? 15,000 miles. For 112 grand, and it's not even a GTS. Oh, yeah, G Davis. 928 is one of my favorites too. I realize it's a not everybody's favorite, but I really like them. Because I always thought the interiors looked cool. And I just thought the idea of a Porsche V8 at the time, long before the Cayenne was even a possibility, that they were just cool. They're just cool. Yeah, so that is disheartening a bit to see. I might have missed the train on those a little bit. If I look up Jaguar XKRs, I'm pretty sure I'm not seeing that kind of price. But like, look, these other ones are like 22 grand, 25 grand, 30 grand. I like, okay, an S4 for 30 grand. Go there. Get yourself a nice looking S4. All the stuff that you want. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's clean. It's nice. It's got the 5-liter, you know, the bigger engine. And it's got an LSD. It's got all the good stuff. But, you know, you're not paying GTS money. 30K, I could live with that. How many miles are on this one? As 133,000 miles. Okay, so some people might be scared by those miles. I'm not scared by miles. I think that miles on a car are totally fine. It's what happened during those miles that's more important to me. But anyway, just something to think out there. Now, of course, it got me curious. My wife vetoed me purchasing one in 2013. Oh, no. Well, you had to save some more money to produce more Coco's Creations, I imagine. That had to be at least part of it, right? Now I gotta look. Jaguar XKR. It's probably not going to be as much as I want, but let's see. I am firmly in the 2010 and up camp because those have the 5-liter supercharged. Okay. Let's take a look. I paid a lot for one. Let's see. 2010. Results, hybrid, yeah. Okay. Let's just see what happened. Yep. The recently closed. Okay, so 2011 looks kind of like I'm guessing the miles were a differentiating factor here. This one had 71,000 miles. This one's actually very similar to mine then, because I also have a black Jaguar XKR. It's wrapped, but they got a ECU too. They got a methanol injection kit. Oh shit, what are they doing here? Just with my ECU tune and my exhaust and a smaller supercharger pulley, my thing's making like 650. So I'd be curious what they're doing here, because that's a lot of car. Set up on the car. It wasn't winter up here. Okay. Anyway, a lot of people. With any luck, that means there's hope yet for me on the resale market if I ever come to the point that I decide to sell. I love the car so much, I'm not sure that I would. Coco's Creations is deeply in the red. Oh no. I'm sorry, dude. Well, maybe that comes back to her decision to veto you. Yes, this one's modifying stuff. But anyway, cats and meth, great combo. Yeah, right? I also have stock. My car has the chrome grille like in all those parts. However, I've got black mesh to replace it with if I want to do this look. Not totally sold on it though. I almost like the contrast more of what I've got. But no, 30K, that's decent. I don't think I would sell mine for less than like somewhere 30, 35, something like that. But anyway, if I change the results of filter to strictly just my non-facelifted one, so 2010 to 2012, that's like a very narrow window, but that's where I'm at. Oh, I guess mine is, yeah, mine's a 2011, so 2012 is when they facelifted it. Okay, so we're all kind of hovering around the 30 to 40 range. That seems about right. Would you mind talking about MTE? I have a few questions. Of course, G. Davis. What do you want to know? When it comes to MTE, admittedly, I'm more well versed on SEMA, but like in more recent years, when it comes to Mobile Tech Expo, I'm not quite as like plugged in on what all's happening there. So I don't know if things have changed. Like ever since COVID happened, all this stuff's been switched around. So I'm a little bit lost as far as, you know, how that's going to work. But I'm planning on going, yes. But yeah, let me know what you want to know about that, and I'll be happy to talk about it. Let's see. We've got old listings. We got more recent ones. Okay, that one's the most recent, 31 for 41,000. 50,000 mile, 28. 37,000 mile, 35. 50,000 mile, 30. 18,000 mile. Wow, that's pretty low for about 40. Okay. I guess that gets me more or less what I'm looking for there. I was just curious. Now, if I look up Toyota Town Ace, no, Toyota pickup, previous auctions, Town Ace, ooh, in 2018. That was a while ago, dude. Yeah, so these are not going for crazy money. Interesting. Yeah, man, I paid like 12 for mine, but that's just the way it be. Anyway, Greg, feel free to ask me what you want to ask about that, and I'll be happy to talk about it. In the meantime, I'm going to skip a detailing video for now. We watched a few of those. How about looking at some classic Datsuns? I need to sign in. Come on. You mentioned today you and Anthony might not be around. I'll be down there playing baseball the week after and was going to stop in Orlando on the way down during Mobile Tech Expo. Okay, so G. Davis, as far as Mobile Tech goes, we were tentatively planning on joining the normal crew, which includes Levi down there. But Anthony and I haven't gone the last few years because usually around that time period, we've got some other stuff going on here back at the shop. However, we want to go this time because we were planning on shooting some videos with Freddie and with Matt at Obsessed Garage and possibly some other people. So we were going to try and include stops with those guys while we were down in the area. That's the way we could justify the extra expense of sending Anthony and myself and possibly Jimmy or somebody. So that would be the main caveat there. Other than that, I don't think we would be gone the whole time. I think we would still be present at the show for at least like a day or two of the show. Now, the specific days, I couldn't tell you those because I don't know off the top of my head exactly how that's going to be framed. Levi knows a bit more about that, but if you want to ask him about that, I think he would be able to clue you in. And yeah, we could figure that out. But if you're planning on being down there, we could definitely time it so maybe you get a chance to catch up with us too, because we'd love to see you. That'd be really nice. But yeah, we haven't talked about it on the podcast or anything, but that's kind of been, since we were hanging out at SEMA, we talked about that. And that's something we'd like to go do is, go hang out and shoot some videos with them. So, not promising anything yet, but we'll probably be shooting videos with Tavares and Obsessed Garage. So, you can expect that when we're down in the area. Maybe we'll even do something with Adam LZ again. I don't know, but, just throwing it out there. So, take a look around and see what the landscape's like when we're there. But we'll make some tentative plans leading up to that, and whatever works, and whatever doesn't. But right now, that's the hope. No guarantee though. If we can't make the timing work, then obviously it doesn't make sense to send myself and Anthony and Jimmy down there too. But for sure, Levi and Josh and John and my dad will be there. So at least that'll happen. But yeah, the hope is we send Anthony, Jimmy, and myself as well. Or, you know, at least Anthony and myself. Maybe Jimmy. He would be great for shooting stuff. Anyway, I'm getting all looped up in that. But I just don't want to make promises I can't keep, you know. That's a big thing for me. So, okay, thanks. I'll ask Levi for the particulars. Last time I saw TRC, I was there in January of 2020. Yeah. And the other guys were there. I was not there for that one, so obviously kind of missed out. But that was right before everything went south in 2020. Our time in 2020 that we spent was up in Georgia, and that was probably the last trip we went on for a long time because it happened right the month before everything went to hell. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch some Datsun stuff. This is fun. Barn Find Hunter. Hang out, talk a little cars. Anything else you want to throw out there, go ahead and keep asking here in the comments, though. I'll be watching for them.
Well, if you watch this show for any amount of time, you know that I really am an enthusiast of Datsun 510s. 99% of the population of the world scratches their head and wonders why anybody would be an enthusiast of this cheap little Japanese sedan. But for that 1% of the population, we know how special it is. It was a great street car, but better than that, it was a great race car. A friend of mine, less than 10 years ago, I guess, told me there's a guy in Hickory that's got a few 510s in a building. So I came over here and I met Richard. I didn't think he remembered me, but he does. And he offered to show us his 510s and some other cars he's got.
Yeah, Jay, we'll figure something out.
Richard, thanks for allowing us to barge in on your business. And
let's take a look.
See, that poor Chevy behind him is smashed.
So here they are. And now,
here they are.
This is a Datsun 510.
Alex Jimmy will
which
go,
was,
Jen lets it.
when
Yeah.
they were new, they were about $1,995. And this was a cheaper version of what a BMW 2002 was. They were, instead of $1,995, those were probably twice that much money, maybe even more than that. And they both had independent rear suspensions. They both had overhead cam, 4-cylinder motors, and stick shifts. And on the racetrack, the 510s kicked the BMW's butt.
Yep.
So Richard, what is it that attracted you to these cars?
Well, I was first interested in 240Zs. I had several of them, and coming up right out of high school, I had the Datsuns first. So I'm cruising through town in my 240Z, and I knew the 510s. I knew a guy that raced them. But this guy in a 510 just badgered me, and I couldn't shake it. So,
And you're in a 6-cylinder car, and he's in a 4-cylinder car.
we talked a little bit, and soon after I bought a 510.
Ah, no kidding.
They're just special. Most people that ever had one have fond memories about the cars. It's a lot of fun for a little money.
So how long have
Give
you
me a
let's say
510
this one. How
wagon.
long have you had this?
20 years.
20 years. It's got a
Oh,
1600.
I can see a
in it?
very
This one's got
nice
2
Trans
liters,
Am behind him,
LB20.
too.
Yeah, okay.
Same motor they put in a truck.
Yep. Yep. When I used to race my car, you could only run 1600. So I did a 80 thousandths overbore and put 1800 pistons in it. Nobody knew. So this is the classic, look for a BR, a Datsun 510. Peter Brock started a company after he left Shelby. He designed the Cobra Daytona Coupe for Shelby, and he started BRE, Brock Racing Enterprises. And he took this little $1,995 car.
But it was
and
the
made
best
a
livery. It was so
kind of a
cool.
championship car in the 2.5 liter Trans Am. So he developed this paint
Speak
scheme.
for yourself, G. I'm sure there's
notice
people who'd want
The
that.
angle of the windshield is exactly the opposite of the angle of the paint scheme. And it usually would say BRE on here, Datsun. So this has got the paint scheme, it's got the fender flares, front and rear, and it's got the American Racing Libra wheels, and these are the 7-inch ones. You had to put the fender flares on to kind of make them work right, or they'd scrub.
You got
So
BMW
this
steering
is
wheel.
the classic 510 hot rod that we all dreamed of owning. And when I owned my car the first time, I never could afford to have this car. But now I'm building it. Now, a half a century later, I'm building it. So here's another one with flares and the
Those Jewish
13 by
cougars.
7 Libras.
What is happening?
These were available, by the way, in a 2-door, 4-door, and a wagon, and all three are desirable. So how long have you had this one?
This car is a local car, and I'm gonna say I've maybe had it 6 years. In fact, I got them both as a pair, but I owned this one 30 years ago, and I got it
Whoa.
back 6 years ago.
So you can see here's a car with fender flares on it, and here's a car with a stock fender. So this has got the 7-inch wide American Late racing mags, and this has got the 5.5-inch wide.
Ooh,
which
that's
is
got
the
some
one that
real
would work with a stock fender.
Automotive cancer going on there, though.
So there's the old engine. This has got the Holly Weber carburetor conversion. See, I know my stuff.
Yeah, hey, well, we took twin
SUs.
There's so much
SUs
room
off
left
of
in
it
that
to-
engine bay, though.
SSS package. Yep.
and it just simplifies the construction of putting it together, and it's very easy to operate.
Yep. These cars now are super desirable. There are clubs forming again. You know, for a while they kind of stagnated, but like everything else, Alfa Romeo GTVs, a very similar sedan, got real popular, and then BMW 2002s, and now these things are going through the roof. Isn't that something? So, what's your plans for these cars? Anything?
Definitely not to get rid of them. Not anytime. I'm not ready.
That's a part that's so hard, though. You get guys like this who end up holding them, and it's like, I understand the appeal. Obviously, you'd want to keep them. Then you don't do anything with it. And I understand. It's not your car. It's not your business. Fine. Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that you wish it was just, if you're not going to do anything with it, I would happily do something with it. But you won't part ways with it. I don't know. I find that kind of ownership frustrating. But then again, I wouldn't want to take it out of their hands either. So what do you do?
Well, thank God that you got them inside, because I see so many sitting outdoors. These cars did not have a lot of kind of rust preventative in there. They didn't have undercoating unless the owner put it on. They were made of thin, cheap metal, and they rusted and then rotted really easily.
Yeah, we've got one more 510 that's in another warehouse. It is strictly a race car.
So you don't want to sell any of these?
No,
I got a friend looking for a two-door desperately.
Dropped a video today that even Dane couldn't identify. Vehicles in it. Oh my God. What was the video?
I know.
A link or something?
Go to Richard's other building, which I have not seen, and he's got another 510 and some 240Zs and some other cars. So let's go.
Classic Stang, MGB.
So here, a couple of Z cars, a Roadster.
This come about.
Say,
These
that's
are
a
all,
little
by
Datsun
the
Roadster
way,
back there.
local cars. It's the 10th anniversary.
Random mattresses. Oh yeah, this is the anniversary. Oh, New Barn Hunter. He dropped a video today that had oh, okay, all right. Well, when it comes to the really old cars, yeah, forget it. I'm not good at identifying those.
Anniversary. They did these in red and black and gray and black. And,
Is this original paint?
It is. It's original car
With a manual gearbox?
with a manual gearbox.
Is this a
That color
turbocharged
scheme is classic, though.
I think that came about 83 or something.
And what year is this?
79. Yeah, the 10th anniversary, because they came out in 69.
That's right.
So it's a one owner, little old lady car, downhill both ways. And
Well, yeah, and the difference at the time between the 280Z and the 280ZX, 280ZX introduces kind of like a little more creased off body style, that kind of stuff. Up to that point, the 260 and 280Z looked just like the 240Z, essentially. Apart from the weird
T-tops,
four-seater
windows,
ones that I found
they
to
came
have super
quite a way
ugly
from
roof
1970,
line.
10 years with all the luxuries that they now have.
Bialy brisket and gefilte fish.
So this is, very similar to the 240Z motor, except this has got fuel injection, and the original 240Z
And
had...
it's a 2.8, which the 280 gets you fuel injection, a lot smarter car, and they run really well.
That's a nice one. All right, we'll stick on the Z theme
And
here.
then, this car, another friend of mine from Virginia brought it down here when he moved here. And he had the bucket smoothed in, the side marker lights are removed, the bumpers were pulled in. And guys, this was done 35 years ago. And he tried back then, the dechroming it and painted the handles.
We all did it. I did the same thing with the Z car.
Huh?
I did the same thing with the Z car.
Yeah,
Gold
and
black.
this is a 260.
So it's
Z here, it's a
74.
74, 1 year only, and they made a 74 and a 74 and a half. This is the early one. 74 and a half had 280Z bumpers and the 280Z dash. These came with the Hitachi carburetors, and it's been updated with the SUs, free flowing exhaust. It was lowered 2 inches.
Yeah, as I remember,
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say,
Hitachi
shout out
carburetors were
Virginia.
troublesome on a 260.
Oh gosh, yeah, they were. They actually just look different. You can tell the, and you know, SUs, they had Japanese SUs and British SUs.
Yep.
Okay, that one came, when I bought this, I bought about 4 of them together. It's funny, Datsun people usually have more than one. This car is a engine, the engine was already gone. It's a 240Z, a 71. I want a V8 one of these. And this one already being a candidate for it, that I've got everything to do it. I also, when I was in high school, I bought this Jim Cook Racing fiberglass body kit that widens everything out. I've had that for 40 years and never used it.
You gotta be kidding.
Jesus.
Man, and is
I don't feel so bad about that
whale tail
fiberglass
was
rear
off a
bumper I got for the Jag that I still haven't put on
79
after a few years.
So what I did, I had a 71, which had a weak transmission and a small radiator. I went up to Bob Sharp Motors, and they were building race cars. So they would take out the original radiators, original transmission. I would buy those things from Gene Snow, put them in my 71 240Z, and I drove that car. The day I sold it, I could still get 100 out of third gear.
Sweet. And then behind the 260s, a 1970, the last year of the Roadster 2000.
I was going to say, that looks like a very
SRL
late model
311.
Roadster.
SRL 311 was a 2-liter, and the SPL was a 1600.
But this is an original car. Soft top, the roll bar was added. I drove it in here and parked it right there probably 10 years ago.
So this was a Japanese MGB, only it was better than an MGB because it didn't leak as much oil.
And this is the 2000. They
Hey,
made
as long as
a
it's
couple
leaking
different
oil, it's still got
variants of this.
some.
When they came out, they were 1600s.
God,
All
those
right,
wheels. It has the
68,
worst wheels. My least
They
favorite
did a
aftermarket
68
wheels of
and a
all
half that
time.
had
I hate
Solex
those things so
carburetors and a
much.
short windshield. And it went from 135 horsepower to 150.
Gee, I know. I've seen that. The house from Christmas Story is for sale. Yeah. Caught that, what was it, today or yesterday? I saw that.
That was getting that much horsepower.
I stress again, though, this car has the aftermarket wheels that I hate more than any aftermarket wheel. They're just so damn ugly. Ugh.
All right, in 68, they did a 68 and a half. They had Solex carburetors.
Somebody
and
really
a short
liked red with
windshield.
this car.
And it went from 135 horsepower to 150. That was getting that much horsepower out of the same thing that 240Zs were getting.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't talked to somebody that knows as much about Datsun as you do, probably in a quarter of a century. All right, so let me show you this. This is
Oh my
me.
God, there's a Cadillac
I used to
Alante
race my
back there. What's
510
that
Freestyle
hat doing
race
out
circle
there?
around. That's my car. I bought it.
I had a
Brown.
one. Mustard color.
Yeah.
I had a mustard one.
I found that Porsche color,
Sweet.
and so I painted the car. So that's it
Much
now.
more
We just got
pleasant
out of the
color.
body shop.
It's gorgeous. I love these cars.
We're a rare breed.
This is an MG that was found up in Hildebrand, North
Little
Carolina.
MGB.
So if you remember that, we just
That's
we just
chrome
looked
bumper
at
one, so
a
it's actually
Datsun
worth a
Roadster
little more.
in the other room.
Also, what the hell? It has 3 windshield wipers. How have I never noticed the MGBs have 3 windshield wipers? I feel like that's something I would have noticed.
This is a British version of that car, or that's a Japanese version of this car.
I think it's a 71. I'd have to look because I've had it too probably 15 years.
It's
Yeah, it's got to be a 71 because in 72 or 73, that's when they changed from the chrome bumpers to the Uggo bumpers, the nasty bumpers that made them look cheap.
70 or newer because it's got the later grille, later taillights. Is that original color on there?
It is original color.
Wow. I've never seen one that color.
That's why they say it's a odd color, but it was a factory color.
It's like
also.
periwinkle.
So the Z cars, the Roadster, this MGB, are any of these for sale?
I'd sell the MG. I probably want $4,000.
Oh, $4,000?
There-
That's not bad.
There's a half of a Volkswagen,
So you're asking half price for that?
half the price.
Half price. Now this is a color
Oh, now see, that's an appealing one. I like this. This is a good looking one.
that I haven't seen in
This
a
is
long
a rare
time.
color.
That's
And
a-
look, it's not been on the road since '95.
That's like a grape purple. So did these come out of Far East, Baxter's
I don't.
dealership?
The only history I know here is the fella passed away. The family asked me to store this. Actually, it is not my car.
Okay, I get it. That can't be original paint because it looks too good. Another Z car.
One of the guys here in town's wife bought it new in Georgia, and it had a very light rollover.
I was gonna say, it got
really?
bonked up on the fender out there. How does one have a very light rollover? You either roll over or you don't. If you roll over, there's gonna be damage. I'm just telling you right now, there's gonna be damage. So much. So much.
So can you tell what year it is? I mean, all I know is 240. It's not a
Tom,
70.
they put
It's
a
a 71 or a 72, I'd say.
2 of 72. And look here, you want to see a diamond in the rough?
Oh,
Look
man.
at those hubcaps.
In the Z-Car world, this is unobtainium. Brand new NOS, which stands for New Old Stock, 240Z hubcaps. So $250 a piece. All right, so here's the fourth and final 510. Is that a dirt racer?
You know what? It has done both. It has seen action.
That looks
both
badass.
dirt and asphalt.
No kidding. At the Hickory Speedway?
That thing
it
looks
come
like
out
a
of
wild
Winston
little
is where I
go-kart.
bought this car. And it's for sale if somebody would like to give me $5 grand.
$5 grand.
It's a roller.
$5 for that.
Roller. Is it a pretty solid car? The floors look good.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a race car.
All right, I'm taking pictures of it because I got a friend looking for a two-door. Oh, so here's the original style
Yeah,
of the
what you were
GRE
talking
Datsun
about.
with the stripes. So Peter Brock was, as I told you before, he wanted to match this angle with that angle. So they meet right in the middle like an arrow.
Also, another one of my slightly trashy favorites behind there, the two-door Chevy Blazer, that basically precursor to the Tahoe. It was after the traditional CK Blazers, but right before the Tahoe. The Tahoe is what eventually came out of that two-door 90s, OBS-style Chevy SUV. They also had well, my personal favorite was the Yukon GT. Now I have to pull that up. Yeah, let's find it. That is not a real thing. Real Yukon GT is this guy. The wheels are wrong, but otherwise, yeah, it was just kind of like a cool looking version of a little two-door guy. Yeah, they were nice. They were just nice. Anyway, back to
Arrow.
And there might be one more Z car over here.
There might be.
Well, I'm thinking there's
Oh,
another
yeah,
one.
there's one. So that is a 260.
That's 280.
280,
It's got
okay.
the big bumpers.
Big bumpers, okay, yep.
But like, if you take the bumpers off, it's still essentially the 240 underneath.
So if we talk about big bumpers, just so you know, the 240, 260 had little skinny, non-functional bumpers. But this has got the shock absorbers on there.
In 75, when the gas changed, so did bumpers.
And what I love about the Z-Car, you can take a 510 piston and put it in a 240Z. It's the same motor, except it's extended 2 more cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go look at that other yard, and then we'll get out of your hair.
You're good.
So, are these the cars that you would sell?
No, this stuff in here is just parts.
Just parts, okay.
Or that's a 260. That's a first gen of the 260 and 74.
So here's the
There's a good front spoiler
dam,
that's good for the 74 up.
Mm-hmm.
Just excellent parts car.
Yep.
And if you're going to play with these cars, and I do, you kind of need some parts.
So we'll get off the Japanese thing a little bit here and there because he's got too many other interesting things to look at.
And we got a Metropolitan.
Look at that
So
little
this
Nash.
was made in England, and this is a crazy story. It has a 3 on the column, but it has a 4-speed transmission. I think they locked out first gear. Really crazy.
But it's got MG running gears.
Yep. Another early Z car, parts car, obviously.
These parts have got, with the
I know it's personal taste again, but I was always a fan of these stacked, exhaust. Basically taking the muffler and turning it on its side so they end up looking vertical. I always thought that looked cool on those.
new enthusiasm on rebuilding them, the parts have become valuable as well.
Yep. Look at this Riviera.
Yeah, 63.
Nice old Riv.
Yeah, what an amazing design. GM, I mean, during these days when GM had this and the Olds Tornado and the Corvair and the turbocharged Oldsmobiles with the aluminum V8, I mean, they were breaking ground. Pretty amazing stuff. Now, something like this would be so expensive to restore. My God.
I mean, a really nice one only brings 40 grand, and you'd probably spend that on it.
So I got to ask you something. Here you are, you're a lifelong Hickory guy, and you're still finding cars in little garages around this mill village.
They're still here.
I mean, what I try to do is give people encouragement, no matter where they live in the country, that there's still plenty of cars out there, even if you're in a little mill village. I mean, would you say the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are still plenty of cars out there. They'll surface as people pass or things like that, but they're out there.
Yep.
And then behind you, Tom, is another 260.
Of course. Now, how can you tell the 260 from up front?
I just know what it is.
Oh, okay. Oh, this had a white interior. So this is a blue white interior. That was a neat car.
Back in high school, the thing to do with the Z cars was to put aluminum wire basket wheels on them.
Oh yeah,
Every
those
one
things.
I got, I was running down to the wheel store.
Look at that old Jaguar.
Yeah, there's a couple of those here. And I found these cars just like they are. I just, you know, if they're cheap, they're worth buying for parts cars than somebody crushing them. And I don't know that I'm done playing with cars.
Yeah, it sounds like you're not. If you're still buying them, you got it bad. Now that is cool.
The full-on
That's the
dealership
best,
Nissan
Nissan
sign.
accessory I've seen all day. This is a dealership sign. That's great.
I gave $500 for it. I'd take my money back. I don't know
$500
why
for
I
that
did. I
whole
just didn't
thing?
wanna see
That's
them taken to the
awesome.
junkyard.
You know, there's a couple of young guys. There's a couple of young guys in Georgia that buy old Z cars and fix them up. 2 college students. They'd probably love to have this sign. You would sell that?
Yes. Like I say, I just didn't want to see them take it to scrapyard, and the company that was taking it down and brought it to me for $500.
Dude,
All right, I
that's
gotta take
awesome.
a picture of it. I'm gonna send this to them. You'll probably get a phone call.
Wow, that
And
third
another
gen
Z
back
car.
there is looking real grimy.
MGB. There's your basket wire wheel.
There's another B.
Yep.
That's an automatic 280. Big bumpers, Metropolitan, Corvair convertible. You got a lot of stuff, man. And from what I understand, you even have more than this, right?
He's just chuckling because he knows.
There's 27 more cars down.
First new car was
All
a
right, sir, I think
Sentra. I
you
haven't
must go
bought a
back to your
Nissan
life.
since. Well, see, you moved on to Toyota and you found what worked.
You don't want to see the other building.
Do I?
I don't know. There's a Sunbeam Alpine, a E-Type Roadster,
But they're all
and
pretty.
another Z car.
Nope, they're too pretty.
Yes, these are good running driving cars.
Yeah, we don't like that. We like the crap. So I met Richard, just popped in one day. A friend of mine said, this guy's got Datsun 510s. You might want to go visit him. And I went in here and poked my head in. And I didn't think Richard remembered me, but that was like 5 years ago maybe. And he said, yeah, come on over. I got some cars for you to see. And this has been, worked out to be one of those amazing days where you want to see another yard? Or you want to see another garage? You want to see, and there's one more building. We're going to turn it down because they're too pretty for us. You know the stuff we like. So anyway, Richard, thank you for spending the day with
Hey,
us.
you know what? Back in the
Go
day
back
when
to selling
Saturns
cars
were new,
now.
Absolutely.
And thanks
before
for
they
sharing your
became
passion
just
with
another
us.
badge engineered
It's so
thing,
terrific to meet a fellow
they were
Datsun
unique.
enthusiast.
We were.
There were
we
good
are an
qualities to
hybrid.
them for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. I hope you find
The people who had
Richard
them definitely
Armstrong
loved them.
in some small town that you visit. Happy hunting.
Old 442.
Oh, that's a sweetheart. Oh man.
It's a 75.
All right, we are going to watch this one here. We got another one. This one has a bunch of JDM stuff. Not really JDM because they weren't necessarily Japanese market ones, but cars from Japan. Sorry, I'm like totally about to yawn here. Going to log that in. Oh no. Go back.
It's been a pretty special morning for us because we've never spent any time on any episode of Barn Find Hunter around cars of this era.
Anthony Cars, here we go.
So this is a 2001 Honda Prelude Type SH.
Yep.
There's only 241 left in the United States. The rest have been crashed, bashed, and left to rust.
Holy shit. Are you telling me there's only 241 of those things left? I used to know a few people who had Type SHs. They were nice, but nobody gets excited about Preludes anymore. It's just kind of, they get overlooked.
I feel very fortunate to have been kind of brought into this family. It's such a
Transmission
great
filter
thing
is like a
to have
regular
your
oil
kids
filter.
involved in the
Perfect.
same interests that you have. You don't see that very much in the car world.
Before muscle cars were around, you had to build your own muscle car. So you took a low performance car and made it high performance with camshafts and headers and carburetors.
Now people are building hot rods out of
cars from, say, Japan or Germany, taking low performance cars and shipping them and modifying them to ways I never even thought of. They didn't have to go inside the motor. They just have to plug things in. It's pretty cool. Different cars, different tastes. Not everybody has the same passion for the same car, but lots of people have passions for cars in general. We're going to go check out some people now that have a different taste in cars than I usually have. That's what I'm talking about.
Zion TC, there goes Luke Berge.
I know nothing about this world of hot rodding. I'm into the traditional hot rods. I connected with this guy named Sergio. He's kind of informed me about what this world is all about and how these guys find their cars and how they soup them up and whatever. So Sergio, thanks so much for being my catalyst to put together this whole thing.
My pleasure.
So tell me about you. You're 19 years old.
I am 19 years old.
And you go to college?
I am currently in college, and the car stuff is my life. You know, I wake up, first thing I think about is my car.
Honestly,
and
it
then
seems a little
breakfast.
young to have a Thrasher magazine.
You want to
hoodie,
make cars
but-
your livelihood somehow, your career?
I would love to. I'm actually part of the Honda PAC program for my college. So I'm going to be working for Honda very soon.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
cool.
So this is your Honda?
Yes, this is a 2001 Honda Prelude Type SH.
Yep.
There's only 241 left in the United States. The rest have been crashed, bashed, and left to rust.
Diffuser's a little
VTEC?
iffy there, but
It is a VTEC engine,
and
actually.
those canards
Is
over
it a
there are a
manual
little
gearbox?
insane.
Yes, it's a 5-speed. Let me show you guys.
Gee, you couldn't make it through this episode. I wanted to try watching this one because I wanted to see if it would make me mad. The problem I'm getting is I'm looking at this and going, oh, he's humoring them, but then it's just like, oh no. That diffuser and those canards on the back were all I needed to see to know this is just like going to be too painful and I won't be able to go through it happily. Oh no. That's not good. Maybe we need to find a different episode. Let's see. What do we got here? Ooh. Those are old episodes. There's something more recent. Ooh, okay. The 101 cars? I want to watch that. I know you already watched it, G, but I would like to take a look at that. Let's see. Okay, this is like already. Yep.
Try it? No, that's right.
It's fun.
A two-stroke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I was
I was
worried
gonna
about
say,
you
it
going off
makes
in
it
the
sound like
darkness.
a
No, I know
two-stroke.
where I'm going though. I've been around there a few times.
Okay. In the world of auto museums, there
Oh,
are
he
generic
went to the
museums, and
Lane Motor Museum. Of course. Okay. If you just told me they were going to the Lane Motor Museum, I could have known right off the bat that this was going to be a weird one, for sure. Because Lane Motor Museum actually pops up a lot in some regular car reviews episodes and stuff. That's how I first found out about them. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Anyway,
all
let's
have
watch this one.
55
I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
Thunderbird and a Studebaker Avante and maybe a Model T, and you know, we've all seen those museums before, but in this museum, which is Jeff Lane's museum, he's got a niche for collecting the most unusual cars. Thanks for having us here.
Our
Tatras?
niche
I'm already
is unique
interested.
and different.
Yes.
Cars that people typically haven't
Air-cooled
seen. I think
V8s.
people call me a lot of times the king of weird, which I think is a good badge. I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Hell
Well,
yeah,
what
dude.
Jeff has allowed us to do, because you know we're insiders in this barn find world, we're going to visit the basement collection. Either way, man.
All right, let's do it. Because we have 550 cars in the collection and we can only display about 125 at a time, we rotate about 60 cars, 60 to 70 per year.
Well, would you show us some cars
So
that
many
to you
red
are
cars, my
significant?
goodness.
Okay, sure.
One-off
Sure.
or-
Yeah, let's wander down here.
Now, is that a mini?
Yeah, that's like a 2/3 scale mini.
All right, now for those of you watching right now, if you're not already subscribed, you're about to see a 60-second ad break. Just giving a heads up because we are 2 hours plus into this. I'm on the next hour, so I got to hit this thing. But wanted to give you a heads up. If you subscribe, you won't see ads anymore. So that's nice. You don't have to subscribe, though. If you don't mind seeing the ads for 60 seconds, then it comes back here, you're fine. But the other option, besides subscribing, that you can also do is, of course, use your Amazon Prime, which is Twitch Prime in this case. You use Amazon Prime, then you have Twitch Prime. All you got to do is log it in, and then you can add a subscription to any streamer you like. You get one choice per month. Maybe that's me if I'm lucky, but hey, you know what? You pick who you want to support. Other than that, I would say, yeah, that's about it. And of course, if you're watching this and you decide you like the car content and it's fun and it's something you want to catch when I go live next time, just so you receive the notifications when I go live and you haven't already hit follow, please go ahead and follow me. That way you get notified when I go live next time. And that doesn't cost anything. So that's just a little thing we throw out there and make sure you get a heads up. Right, continuing on. Now that ad break starts now.
Yeah, somebody in England decided it's got like a Briggs & Stratton engine in it.
Jeez.
Yep.
Wow.
And then we have
A little Honda
over here,
S800
a
up
shortened
there.
Mini.
Oh, look at that, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep.
Plum Mini. Oh, now we're in the blue section.
So one of the interesting cars here is this Martin Aerodynamic. So there was a guy that lived on Long Island that was a patent attorney. His name was James Martin, and he wanted to build cars, sell the idea to a company, and they were going to manufacture it, and he was going to get royalties. Yeah. So he did 3 cars, and we have all 3 of them. So this was a Streamliner. You know, one door on this side, kind of like an airplane.
Aluminum?
Engine in the back, it's aluminum with a wood frame.
What a beautiful style.
Yeah, yep.
Even the back window's got a nice look to it, the curve around. So the motor's in the back.
Motor's in the
What
back.
kind of motor is?
Continental 4-cylinder, flathead.
Now, where do you find a car like this?
You know, we actually bought this on eBay. Yeah, years ago. There was a museum in Stone Mountain, Georgia, called the Stone
Alex,
Mountain
I'm sorry,
Car
I didn't know I was
Museum,
doing
and
that.
this was on eBay.
And what is it? This is
Must
a
be
race
a new-
car?
This is a
Twitch thing.
Panhard,
Or
like a
Canadian
Formula
thing.
Ford
I don't
type
know.
Panhard.
3 lugs.
Yep.
Two
And it's
cylinders,
2-cylinder,
two-stroke.
air-cooled. No,
Yeah.
4-stroke.
Elon Hennon, that's
Yep.
right.
And was that a class of racing?
So there was a class of racing for this car, I think in Canada. So this Skoda is very interesting because there was a couple that lived in Czechoslovakia. They moved to Chicago and started a bakery. And they loved Skoda, which is a Czech car manufacturer, still around, actually owned by Volkswagen. So when they
I was gonna
moved
say,
to
Skodas are all like
Chicago, they
Audis,
bought 2
Volkswagens now.
of the exact same cars. Now this was the wife's car. So when they passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, their kids said, what are we going to do with these pieces of junk? So this car is totally original, except of course, you know, we changed the tires, we've done some brake work. I think it has, can you see the speedo? I think it's got like 2,500 miles on it.
2497.
Yeah, 24.9. So
you're saying this interior is original?
Yeah, yeah.
Holy man.
Because you can see how little they drove it. Obviously, they kept it in a garage.
The original paint, solid body,
Yep.
less than 2,500 miles. That's amazing.
Wow.
And the traction Avant here is very interesting
traction
because
Avant,
this
yes,
is
Citroen.
what they call gasoline. So during World War II, most of the public could not get gasoline at any price. So there was a company called Gasoline that you would take your car there and they would convert it to run on coal.
That's what this is?
And that's what this is. So you put the coal in
Holy
here,
shit,
and
really?
you start on fire, and produces a methane gas, which comes down through this tube and then through the front. This was a tube to cool it off somewhat. This was a big, huge filter.
Wow.
To filter out, hopefully, a lot of the charcoal pieces and particulates.
And so but it's got a stock motor in here.
And it runs on a stock motor. Yep. It's just
Did it run efficiently or was
there were a lot of disadvantages. One, it took 20 minutes for it to get enough methane to get going, right? You lost 1/3 of the power, and it would only run about 30 minutes before you had to restock it. But the biggest problem was it was very dangerous because if the gas got too hot in here before it got into the motor, it would explode. Like I said, they did about 5,000 conversions. After the war, everybody took them off because they really, I mean, it was
They went, hell
better
no,
than
I'm not
nothing,
keeping
but
that.
not that great. So it's rare that a few of
that
them.
this still existed?
God.
And I guess no collection would be complete without a Model T.
Model T.
Oh,
yeah.
Lancia Delta Integrale
This is
next
another
to it,
original
though.
car, a DKW.
Yep.
It's the interior's original. I mean,
I
again,
also
we put
saw
tires
a
on
Renault
it.
Clio
But this
V6.
has got 36,000 miles on it, so it's got.
Man, 2-door, hardtop, very pretty. Fender skirts, very
Yeah.
nice.
So it's a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke front-wheel drive. So
Oh, I bet that
DKW
sounds
was
awesome.
so Audi,
The Fiat
Wanderer,
124
Horse,
next
and
to it.
DKW were the 4 rings. It was kind of the European General Motors. So DKW was the bottom brand, and then Wander and Horsch were the luxury brands, and Audi was kind of in the middle. Of course, we know Audi still survived, but everybody else disappeared. So the other two Martins, this is the last car that he did. It was called the Stationette, right?
And again on Long Island.
Yeah, 1950. So his theory with this one was, this is a crazy theory, right? It's really a work of art, but it's absolutely a horrible car. It has one band brake in the back, right? No shock absorbers. And again, now it's 1950. Like in 28, you'd be like, okay, that's not so bad, right? But now we're way ahead of that. So his theory with this car was they were going to make all the wood pieces in a factory, right? And they were going to put them in a kit, and they were going to send them to all these airports around the country, because he was convinced that all the airplane mechanics at all these little airports are sitting around half the time doing nothing, right? And then they were going to put the cars together, and that's how they were going to manufacture them.
Like a freaking Lincoln Log set. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
But I have to admire the guy. He never gave up.
He didn't.
I know,
but,
it's
you know,
Audi,
he did a curved
not Audi.
dash. You know, it's got, this was like a city car, so the seats flip down.
If you have an
sit
Indy
on,
or
but it's
an
kind of a
Audi.
neat thing. When you get up, they pop up out of the way.
Again, the motor is...
Is a Austin 4-cylinder.
Really?
But the design, weirdly, the design looks very cohesive for what it is.
Magic gearbox. It's not. It's a
It just
Harley Davidson.
happens to be
So there's a
incredibly
chain that
shitty in
drives
terms
to
of
the
the
Harley gearbox, and then the chain that drives the back.
underlying
This was
construction.
his city car from 1930.
Wow.
50 and 30, and look how similar they look.
And this is interesting because this is the only car I know where the windshield rolls up and down.
I mean, so he didn't vary too far.
From this to that, no, but this was aluminum skin and,
He
and
found
a
a
wood,
design
and a
he
wood
liked,
frame.
and he just kept doing it.
Steel disc wheels.
He was big on and the three lugs. Yep.
Now this.
Well, it's not like it's making enough power to cause that to
what
be
is
a
this?
problem.
So this is an Ericsson. This was built in Dayton, Ohio. The Dymaxion is
I was gonna
rear
say, this
engine,
reminded me of
front-wheel
a
drive, rear
Dymaxion.
steer.
This is like a one of one.
Yep, one of one. Guy named Ericsson, and he built this. So it's a Jeep motor, drives the front wheels. I believe that's a Ford steering wheel, right?
Oh yeah.
And this right here is I'm sure a seat out of something.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this car is instead of using big sheets, and I can't remember the number of pieces in this car, but we went around and tried to count. It was like 370 pieces that he riveted
Anthony's
together.
half-inch
he worked in
impact has
Aircraft
more
Factory,
torque than
maybe
9 of
he,
these
took a
vehicles
little piece off
combined.
the floor.
True,
And that's
Alex,
what we're
true.
thinking.
What great stuff.
Yeah. This is really interesting because this is a French, I don't know what you want to call it, but there was a French gentleman
Very simple
that
shape.
he loved to ride a motorcycle and scooters, right? And his wife wanted a little more comfort. So he built this, right? So there's like a cockpit up here for her to ride, and he sits on the back. And
So the whole front steers?
Just the wheels.
Oh, I get it.
Just the
okay.
wheels. Yep.
And a little red
Basically, the
Yeah.
equivalent
Is
of
this a
like those
scooter that he
bicycles
converted,
where
or did
somebody
he build
puts their
this-
dog in the
We
little
don't
covered
know,
trailer.
but
and
it sure looks like he
Wow.
just took this scooter and built the front.
Yeah.
Now that
and just
vehicle
added
out
a
there
frame.
blows my mind. The size of that.
So that's our
Nice little
largest
Lotus
vehicle.
back there, 2CV.
Yep. We bought that on eBay. So it's got 4 engines, 4 Detroit diesels, one that runs each wheel.
Wow.
And it was
that
made
thing is
for
friggin'
the
huge.
Vietnam era for like a freighter that wanted to unload cargo, but there was no
I sure
port.
do, G.
All right, I'm 6'3", and I can't even reach the top of this tire. Remember when you were a kid? I don't know about you, but me, when I heard about a 4-wheel drive vehicle, I thought there was a motor at each wheel. Well, this one actually has a motor at each wheel. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I finally found the car that I dreamed about when I was
As
7.
a kid, yeah.
And so how did you get this here?
This
So
is
it
clearly,
came,
like,
it was in
related to the
Florida,
old
it came up the
land
Mississippi
train.
River, and then they brought it up the Cumberland
The
River.
snow train.
And to Nashville. They picked it up with a crane, and then we drove it from
You remember those? The Arctic snow train? Yeah. There we go. The Overland train. Functionally very similar, I think, because in a lot of cases, yeah, there was like a motor in each wheel or something. Some of them were like diesel electric, more or less kind of like a locomotive. Yeah, really cool though. That's actually a good video to watch at some point. I'll have to pull that up. A video from a channel called Mustard does a really interesting one about that. Anyway, back to it.
there through downtown to here one night. It's 14 feet wide, it's 62 feet long, and it weighs 200,000 pounds empty. 28 miles an hour is the top speed.
Does it float?
It does float, yeah, it's amphibious. Yeah, there's propellers in the back.
What a vehicle.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
So this is the air-cooled room.
Just generally, we put mostly air-cooled cars in here.
So there's
Oh,
going
look
to be
at this.
Tatras.
A double front
Citroens.
Chevaux.
This is a replica, but they actually built one of these in the 50s. So in southern rural France, at night, the fire department would patrol rural roads with a traction avant. Sometimes the roads were so narrow, they'd have to back up for a mile or more to find a place wide enough to turn around. So they had a workshop. They said, why not take a 2CV, cut it in half, because 2CV is front-wheel drive, front engine, and make a car
Double
that
it.
go.
So this has 2 engines?
Yeah, it has 2 engines, so you can drive it either way. And they used it for 20 years.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, yep.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
great.
So this is a 2CV without the body on it.
Oh, yeah.
Which, you know,
Whoa.
the thing about a lot of cars, if you want to see the engineering and the architecture, right, of the suspension and the chassis, and a 2CV's really different because there's a 1 tube in the middle, and the swing arms, right, front and back, both go into the tube where the spring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And with the body on it, you can't see any of that. You know, we had them make one without the body on it.
And this is a driving chassis?
Yeah, I actually drive this to lunch on a nice day.
So if you look at it, it's got
That's
a
really
traditional
cool.
kind of a gearbox lever coming out of the top of the gearbox, but to hook that, it's got a little homemade universal joint here, and this comes through the dashboard. Wow.
And they did that because they wanted, if you were going to be 3 wide, there's nothing on the floor to be in your way.
So this car, and the red car we saw a moment ago, they were designed, if I'm not mistaken, so that you could drive across a farm field, a plowed field with a basket of eggs on the
Yeah,
front seat,
that
and
old thing.
They wouldn't break.
Right. The original car was 375 cc's and 8 horsepower. And so this is how soft, right, the suspension is.
And that I saw the shock
Is it the
is
wheel?
right on this. It's horizontally
Yeah,
mounted.
it's right in the tube
Isn't
here.
that something?
Yep.
Ha. And what is this odd little bubble here?
So this is a Hoffman. In the 50s in Europe, you know, when things were pretty austere, people that were handy built their own car. And this guy's name was Hoffman.
Okay, that
built
rear
his
wheel
own-
is way
yeah,
too
aluminum.
inboard, though.
It steers in the back.
It's
you know,
so
at 20
far
foot, this goes
forward.
25, and at 20, it's terrifying. Because look how small the wheelbase is.
That's what
the
I'm
wheels
saying,
touch
man.
that
If you
wheel
want to
and
have good
dramatic
driving
thing.
dynamics, you need
Yep.
the wheels to be
Yep.
pushed
It's
out
got
to
a,
the corners.
a larger front track than it has wheelbase. Bizarre. A
That's
horrible car. And you know, it's
crazy.
pretty big actually, but look how difficult it is to get in and out.
Oh boy.
I mean, the wheel well's in the way, the
Wasn't
steering
really
wheel's
thinking
in the
about
way.
that.
But he made it in his
Well,
basement.
they made it.
He made it in his basement. Yep.
And again, one of one.
Yep. One of one.
Beautiful bodywork,
You
though.
know, let's talk about
funny
King
enough.
Midget for a minute.
Okay.
Because, you know, people have seen them, but they don't really know
That
what they are.
Citroen is
So,
where the French roll
give
came
us
from.
thumbnail
Nice.
history on a King Midget.
Good one.
So King Midget was a company in
King Midget.
Ohio.
That's a great
in
name.
the
That sounds
late
like a band
40s,
name, man.
And their first cars looked like little baby race cars, right? And they made King Midgets up until I think like 1972.
I used to see their ads like in Popular Science magazine.
Right, and most of them were Briggs and Stratton. I don't remember the horsepower. I think 10. 10
I was gonna
horse.
say it's not
Just
much.
just a
whatever it is.
lawnmower engine.
Just a lawnmower engine, and the vibration on these things.
I bet it's
you know single
insane.
cylinder, you know 10 horse, right? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And they are, I believe they're 2-speed, so top speed about 40 miles an hour.
And this was a street legal car.
Street legal car, and you know I don't know the volume, but they actually sold quite a few cars.
Wow.
You know, it's not
Because
like
they
100 or
found
200
themselves in magazine
throughout
articles.
their lifetime. Like
They're cheap
thousands,
enough they
thousands.
could do it.
Great stuff, man. Well, this concludes our back room tour of the Lane Automotive Museum. I want to thank Jeff Lane for meeting us here early. I love the place. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for coming out.
If you're in Nashville,
That's
you gotta
awesome.
visit this place. Happy hunting.
Love it. That was great. All right. So that pretty much rounds us out there. Why don't we go ahead and finish things off with a low-key, oh my God, 24 minutes. You know what? I actually realize I still got to do a few things here in the house. So for that matter, I'm probably going to be wrapping things up here. Honestly, that's what I should do. I should be wrapping things up. But it's been really fun hanging out with you guys and enjoying a little chill session here with y'all. And yeah, no, thank you all for watching, for subscribing, for following, for, you know, just making the evenings a little more fun for the times when I choose to go live. And yeah, don't be afraid to let me know when there's something that interests you guys. Share in the links, obviously, in the chat. You can share videos and TikToks and that kind of stuff. And I'm always looking forward to new input because, hey, some people already have clued me on to new channels I never knew existed. So it's fun to be able to discover new stuff thanks to you guys. And yeah, and maybe I introduce you something you're not familiar with either. So it's fun. And thank you, G. Davis, for popping in and hanging out too. I know it's not always your cup of tea, but at the same time, I think we have fun. So thank you. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start off the music, and then we're going to go ahead and take ourselves out. So y'all have a good evening or morning if you're somewhere in Europe. I know some of my friends are. And I will catch up with you probably on Thursday at my day job. It's one of those, if you know, you know. Otherwise, maybe I'll do something tomorrow, but I'm not counting on it here. So probably Thursday. But yeah, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. See ya.
Look what you made become, yeah. You need the basic funds, yeah. This ain't a place for fun, yeah. Running the check, I'ma pull up. Fuck with me back when you shit up. Kinda that mullah. I in the bomb like I blew up. Stacking that motherfucker blew up. Cool, yeah. Got the vision, get the fuck out my way. Got the bitches, so it's fuck what they say. Yeah, we do this often, it's exhausting. Yeah, we do this often, it's exhausting. Got the vision, get the fuck out my way. Got the bitches, so it's fuck what they say. Yeah, we do this often, it's exhausting. Yeah, we do this often, it's exhausting. But right now I'm making money moves. Hey, fuck with me, then we'll be coming through. Cool. Throw it up, I let my hundreds blow. Yeah, can't believe I was in love with you. Ooh. So I'll see you later, cherry-o. You can catch me on the stereo.